is. Here they're going. They're bumping at it.
That's not what I expected out of Mamo, but I guess in his home country, in front of all his fans, he gets pretty desperate. I'll forgive him this time, but I'm going to punch his teeth out next time.
That's the same team that took me out in Utah, put me upside down.
And it didn't end there. Close calls and contact kept the cup of aggression overflowing. And Angelelli around the outside. 2 races, 2 crashes.
This will probably end their day with that hit.
But overshadowing all the aggro were 2 wonderful stories. Stories of David and Goliath stature. In both DP and GT, underdog teams prevailed.
Once I got by Scott, he kept putting pressure on me all the way along.
With every round, the Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series just gets better. But the best is yet to come. Next up, the ultra-fast, ultra-challenging rolling hills of Virginia International Raceway. Sports cars on speed right now. It's been a busy week for the Grand Am Rolex teams, traveling over 2,000 miles from Mexico City to Motorsport Alley here in Virginia. We're in the heartland of stock car country, but this is all about sports cars. Round 4, the Bosch Engineering 250 at Virginia International Raceway. They call this America's motorsport resort, but it's anything but a vacation destination. This is a place where real racers' skills are showcased, and we put the spotlight on the points in the Daytona prototype category for you. After 3 rounds, it's the Ganassi combination of Rojas and Pruitt who boast a healthy 16-point lead over our most recent winners, Jim Matthews and Mark Goosens. Have a look at Patterson and Negri. They're in there behind the Gainsco boys, and after their first podium in the new Lola, Nick Johnson, Ricardo Zonta in the top 5. One team trying to get into that top 5 is Wayne Taylor Racing and the SunTrust Dallara. It is just a miracle that they are even here after what happened to them a week ago in Mexico City. Take a look.
2 races in a row for us to be taken out, but the second one, literally where it happened, was like an oval crash. And, you know, we literally had to come back from Mexico. The guys had to rebuild the car. We had 2 days to do everything, but these guys are the best. So we're back here, we're competitive this weekend, and now we have to focus on the race.
Well, remarkable fact that the car is even at the racetrack. They had to travel 2,200 miles before they could even start taking it apart. $150,000 later, and at the racetrack, they're up front. Max, but this really isn't about you and Michael this weekend. This is about your crew.
They're fantastic guys. We are so happy. We miss a guy, which is John Fricker, home because he's going to have a baby, but we will look after him afterwards. And they did a fantastic job. Prepared the car in 24 hours. Bring the car here and we put it in pole. I just want to say hello to Alex that I know is looking at. Hello, Alex.
Where the team is positioned right now in the championship, are you still looking at that, or is it all about winning races now?
I'm looking at the championship, and as much as I'm looking winning races until the last race, last lap in the last race.
Well, the team won here last year. Can they get the Dallara's first win this year?
It really is a remarkable story, and it's incredible that they are simply here to race, because Wayne Taylor's team did really a week's work essentially in 2 days. Hi everyone, Lee Diffie, Calvin Fish and Dorsey Schrader with you. Cal, I'll get to you in just a moment. Dorse, you first up. For Wayne Taylor, his team and that new Dallara, one thing they haven't experienced yet is wet weather running. Is it a factor today?
Well, I think it could be. I mean, there's a 40% chance of rain here today. It rained all last night, rained this morning. Now, presently, the racetrack is dry, but that grass on the outside is very wet. And here at VIR, if you get off the racetrack, it's downhill, usually into a guardrail. If you don't crash, however, there's another problem. That's climbing out of the wet grass back to the track.
An uphill battle, that's kind of an appropriate phrase, isn't it, Cal, for the 99 and the 01 teams?
It really is, Lee. For the championship-leading Ganassi team, they came in here with great momentum, and it continued in qualifying by grabbing the pole position. But it was short-lived. Both they and the championship team, the 99 squad, were found that the rear gurney flap was minutely too tall. And what does the gurney flap do? Well, as the air travels over the bodywork of the race car and reaches the rear wing and looks for downforce, that gurney flap just traps that downforce on the race car and gives you more grip. It's a black and white rule. They get moved to the back of the pack. Strategy, both those teams may opt to look for that early pit stop like we saw the 99 car in Mexico City. There's a 45-minute rule in place. Everyone has to pit by that mark. They've got to try and dig themselves out of the hole here today.
Starting way back there is a lot to lose for both those teams. While the story is very different with another young driver here at VIR, he has nothing to lose, and Brian Till caught up with him before he got in the car.
Ricky Taylor, one of the impressive young rookies in the Rolex Sports Car Series. In fact, he has led every Daytona Prototype Championship event that he has been in. And Ricky, we give you a hard time about that. You've only been in one, and that was at Daytona, but you walked away with a 5th place finish. But that was underneath your dad's wing at SunTrust Racing. You're on your own now, kind of over here at Bayer Motorsports. You qualify 5th. How good does it feel to step out from underneath that umbrella and still show people what you can do?
Well, it was really good that first race. I mean, we got a good feel for what the whole DP field's going to be like for the rest of the season. Definitely being with Bayer Racing, the whole Crawford and Bayer families have both welcomed me in really well, and I'm just really happy to be here.
And he's doing a great job, guys. Qualified 5th. Ricky Taylor looking to add to already impressive resume.
GT points after 3 rounds look like this. It is the 07 combination of Kelly Collins and Paul Edwards, who have a 10-point lead over previous leaders Spencer Pumpelly and Tim George Jr. There's in fact 3 drivers on that 81-point mark. And Dirk Werner, the defending GT champion, is there. The Rolex 24 class winners are in the top 3 as well, looking to bounce back though. But earlier, Chris Neville caught up with a driver who's aiding Dirk Werner in his quest for back-to-back championships.
Last year, Dominic Farnbacher had a great race to the front. He was chasing down Dirk Werner. When he took the car off, had a little bit of damage, which put him out of contention. Today, he's going to share that car with Dirk Werner, but the race really isn't about you. It's about Dirk getting back in this championship. He's in 3rd now. How much pressure are you feeling to get the 87 staying up front?
Yeah, of course, there's a lot of pressure for me, and I try my best to get Dirk a good car for the race and to be on the top spots when I give it over to Dirk.
Well, Porsche has yet to win this year. They're hoping to turn that tide today.
No doubt Dominic Farnbacher is very excited about being teamed with the reigning GT champion Dirk Werner. And speaking of strong combinations, Kelly Collins and Paul Edwards in the Banner Racing Pontiac, well, they face a similar scenario to the 01 and the 99.
What an irony. The GT Championship leader also had a problem in tech. This time their car was found to be too low. They moved to the back of the pack as well, but with dire consequences. It's a 26-car GT field here. Kelly Collins got moved back 25 slots. He's got to get his way back to the front on a very narrow racetrack. It's very difficult to pass here. So do you think risk versus reward, big picture championship or maximum points here today? Tough decision for those guys, I feel.
One of the big differences coming to VIR this year, Dorsey, is that last year we had separate races. GT had it on their own, DP had it on their own. There were 27 GT cars last year, whereas now with a full field we have 45. From a driver's point of view, what's it going to be like starting way back there trying to get your way through?
Well, you're going to have some patience for sure. It's going to be very difficult. And it's one thing passing cars of equal speed to your car, but when you throw in the DP mix with that, well, the DP cars are going to lap through the GT field every so often. When that happens in that narrow racetrack, like Calvin said, it's going to be very tight racing. It's going to be a difficult day for the 07, I believe.
Somebody who's not too worried about working his way through, though. Life's cushy if you start up front, and that's how it is for Andrew Davis.
Andrew Davis, Robin Liddell, and the entire Stevenson Motorsports crew have shown strength all season long, but it all came together with that win in Mexico City. Andrew, how special was the victory and just the building of this team from the beginning of the season?
Well, the victory was huge for the Stevenson Motorsports, and to put the Brian Mark Pontiac GXB up front on the top of the podium there was awesome. And really, we've shown strength all season long. We've been quick at Daytona. We were running up near the front before an unfortunate accident. At Homestead, we were fast. Finally able to put it together. It was huge confidence for the team in general, because all these guys are working so hard, and to actually have that come to realization there, it was great for the team. It was awesome.
Well, they start up front here at Virginia International Raceway. They'll see if they can repeat their Mexico City magic.
For the first-time visitors to VIR, this place can be somewhat daunting. For the regular visitors, they relish the opportunity to return each and every year. Calvin and Dorsey, talk us round.
Well, the tightest part of the 3.27-mile scenic racetrack happens right off the start past start-finish. Turns 1 through 5. You're going to see a lot of side-by-side action, door bashing here. You want to be straight as you come off of 5, though, because you start to climb up through the uphill S's, high speed. You get to turn 10, we've seen a lot of problems over the years. You get off the racetrack there, it's 100 miles per hour. However, you carry on, you get to the infamous Oak Tree Corner, turn 11.
Now, Oak Tree Corner is the slowest corner on this racetrack, and then you reach the highest speeds. 170 75 miles an hour for the Daytona prototypes down this long backstretch. Then the final set of corners, 14 through 17. They call it the roller coaster ride, and boy, is it one. And even though you have the inside line towards the end of the lap, you think you might take that to the start-finish stripe? Well, think again. As we look back at 2006, we saw some action here on the final lap. Max the Axe, Angelelli had the lead. There's traffic up ahead. We'll see that here today. Pruitt tries to go around the outside, but look for Rockenfeller in the Ruby Tuesday machine. He slides it down the inside. They bash doors. Can he get it to the stripe?
Mike Rockenfeller, 1 corner to go, comes onto the pit straightaway. He's got about a quarter-mile run going, and a good lead, as you can see right there. Past that barn, start finish up ahead. Rocky will take this win.
Will we see another finish like that today? We certainly hope so, as we need to point out a couple of key items for you. The grid will be rolling through shortly with thanks for Just for Men, the starting grid coming in just a moment. But let's first of all talk about what you need to watch for, boys. First up in these 3 key points, the 30-45 minute rule. Every driver must do, if they wish to score points, that is, a minimum of 30 minutes, and every car must make a mandatory stop within the first 45 minutes of the race.
And every sport loves rivalries, and the Daytona prototype ranks well. The 01 and the 99 traded some bodywork down in Mexico City. There's still some tempers there. The 7 and the 10, they managed to hit each other in the morning warm-up. There's another one, the 6 and the 61. Ian James, Brian Frizzell, we understand in the paddock area. There's a lot of controversy down there. Those 2 boys have managed to hit each other in the last 2 races as well, Dorsey.
And remember, the top 2 of the points leaders in both categories are starting from the back. Playing catch-up, if you will. They'll have to come through the field to get where they need to be.
As you can see, we are rolling here at VIR, not far away from the green. Brian, what do you have for us before we get going?
Well, you talk about starting from the back. Memo Rojas in the 01 is actually going to start from pit lane. They elected to do that to try to get out of any incidents that may happen in turn 1 in that DP field. So as the Daytona prototypes roll by, Memo Rojas will be leaving pit lane and heading on track. Chris?
Brian, I think we're going to see some interesting strategies by these teams that were penalized and sent to the back. But the last time we saw a GT field this big, we had so many cautions at Homestead. These guys starting in the back, they'll never be able to make their way to the front if we don't have some green flag racing.
As per usual, we have some wonderful onboard shots for you, and gee, there's some exciting positions here on this track, particularly heading uphill through the S's. There's the 6-pack on board, the Marquis Jet 66 TRG, Porsche, the Pontiac Dallara, the pole-sitting car for the first time with their new weapon for Wayne Taylor Racing down the bottom, the regular one on board, the 07 with Kelly Collins. And as Calvin mentioned in such detail earlier, Kel Dog, as he's known, really has some work to do to weave his way through this traffic. He loves this track, really showed his maturity and experience last year when he went off at this very section of the track, really dropped off the ledge there and then went back to pit road, and they came away with a podium. They're vying for a championship in that Pontiac. Meanwhile, up front, they take form, and we are ready to roll. Round 4 of the Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series. The calm before the storm. Weather could be a factor. It's been an overcast day. It was a very wet night, and it's pretty boggy off track. They build momentum now. Green flag is inside here at VIR. Let's go for the 4th round of the year, and Valiente leaves them behind.
Brian Frizzell was caught asleep there a little bit on the outside of the front row. Donahue looks down to the inside in the Brumos machine.
And Donahue should have the preferred line going through turn 1 if they can stay side by side. Here's the GT start.
Staggered start, remember. Andrew Davis closest to us here in the blue, red and white Pontiac, but it's Dominic Farnbacher for Farnbacher's Lols on the pole and gets away to a beautiful start. The second Stevenson car is in there, the Corvette, the white 97. Terrific performance there. James Guay and Randy Pope sharing the duties there. They push the Mazda a little bit wide.
That team is really on a high ball after the last win, their very first win ever, first podium ever last week in Mexico City. Now they have 2 good bullets in the gun.
2 classes on the track at the same time. Daytona prototype at the top of your screen, GT at the bottom of your screen, and good, clean, clear starts for both classes. Talk about clean and clear. Look at Valiente. He's gone.
He really has. He really slowed it down, and he just gunned it. I think he was concerned about that Ford Power alongside him on the front of the grid. Brian Frizzell there got caught a little bit. David Donahue, they went side by side down into turn 1, but a good clean start. These 3 streaking away from the rest of the pack at this stage, Dawes.
And Calvin, you're right. Michael Valiente
set that start up to his liking. He got them all in position like he needed to get, and then he just braked them and took off, and you can tell it's not his first start.
There is Joey Hand cresting the hill ahead of Ricky Taylor in the Bayer Motorsports Ford Crawford. Great to have two Crawfords in the race, and they're both in the top 5 at the moment.
It is really great to see those boys back in the paddock area. Max Crawford and his test team are looking after the 19 machine. That's the ex-Finley car. Here we see the 01. Now the question for these boys is, do you stop on lap 1? The key is, what you don't want to do is to make that pit stop and then be engulfed by that GT field. So I think they'll need to get 2 or 3 laps under their belt if they want to take that similar strategy and pit early to get that 45-minute rule out of the way.
And Calvin, if they do that, I think you're absolutely right. We could see as many as 3 cars, I would say, on that same type of strategy. Get up where they need to get and get in there and get that fuel before that 45-minute window comes into play for everyone else.
Guess who's been laying low here this weekend? It is that car in second place. David Donahue, Darren Law. I spoke with Mike Colucci from the Brumos Racing Organisation this weekend. I said, what happened in short in Mexico City? He said, we made a tactical error, a strategical error, and we put our hands up for that. We were in a good position, but we simply blew it. They don't want to blow it this weekend. This is the 1-year anniversary of their former team principal, the late Bob Snodgrass's passing, so it's an emotional weekend for them. Chris.
Well, Kelly Collins is in. This is what we were talking about, these early stops. While the prototypes wanted to get a few laps under their belts just to stretch that gap out from the GT cars, Kelly Collins getting that mandatory stop done now, so he is good on the 45-minute rule.
I think that's a great call by those guys. They don't have to worry about, you know, fighting with a different class. They're basically at the back of everyone right now. And if they get a yellow, they're going to assume track position, because most of the rest of the GT field would take that yellow and pit to get their pit stop out of the way.
And Calvin, like you said, the only reason the Daytona prototypes haven't done that yet is they would want to be able to be clear of those GT cars after they get that couple seconds of fuel that they'll need.
This is the car we were talking about earlier. The second Crawford in the field. It's a Ford-powered Crawford. 2 18-year-old youngsters in there. Ricky Taylor is behind the wheel. Yes, the son of Wayne Taylor. Nice young man. And Max Crawford told me earlier this weekend, he raised his eyebrows. He said, this kid is a star. Watch him in the future.
This car has been sitting in the back of Max Crawford's garage now for about the last year. They pull it out and look at her go.
Remember, guys, Ricky Taylor drove that Riley chassis at Daytona. I asked him about the differences now that he's in a Crawford. He says they feel really similar when you're driving them. The problem for me is I'm tall, and this door on the Crawford is much smaller, so the driver changes, taking a little bit of extra time, and I'm chipping a bunch of the paint off the top of my helmet on the way in.
It's not the same problem for Jarrett Beyer, his co-driver and teammate, because he's considerably shorter. Here is Joey Hand. He's doing the chasing. Tucked in behind Joey is Nick Johnson, the first of the Proto Auto Lollers for Chrome Racing. The Green Machines, and Brad Yeager is 7th. Tom Kimber-Smith is in at Chiva Racing in the Coyote. And then Shane Lewis is back there in 9th. Gabriel Gardel in the Doran Dallara is in the top 10 at the moment.
Calvin, you remember your first helmet, and if you got it chipped, you took it personal, didn't you?
Took so much pride. You'd be sketching away in your bedroom thinking about what would your first safety helmet be like, and Ricky Taylor's just done a tremendous job. He's batting 100 right now. He's led a Daytona prototype race, his only previous start this year at Daytona. What a day that was for he and his father to have him make his debut and lead the 24 Hours of Daytona and running up in the top 5 already. But the Chrome Racing boys, they felt VIR would be a good car for this, good track for this car with the amount of downforce that it produces. But they were hoping for rain, and there is a threat of it.
Close up front, 1, 2, and 3. This is Michael Valiente, the Canadian, leading for Wayne Taylor Racing in the SunTrust machine. The Porsche-powered Riley is 2nd for Brumos, and then the AIM Autosport car, the Ford-powered Riley, sits 3rd. Let's ride with Valiente for a moment. Into turn 1. Slow, but not the slowest corner. 47 miles per hour. Not quite as slow as the 41 mile an hour Oak Tree turn. This guy was electrifying in qualifying yesterday, particularly up through the S's. He gave this Dallara everything he had. Brian.
Gainesco team doing exactly what the Banner Racing team did. John Fogarty on pit road took just a flash of fuel to top it off, but another good call. They had cleared the GT field. gave him time to come in and do that splash, guys.
The reason they didn't do it on the opening lap, remember at Mexico City they qualified on the second row, so they were at the front of the DP field. Here they started at the back. They had to ensure there's enough of a gap. The DP and the GT field start about 10 seconds apart. They needed 20 seconds to get down pit lane.
Valiente from pole to lead, in control. Mark Patterson at the moment with some work to do. He's down in 14th for Mike Shank Racing. Back at VIR, more strategy plays out. Tell us more, Brian.
Memo Rojas doing the same strategy that the 99 did. A great job in qualifying to qualify that car on the pole, but the infraction with the rear wing sent him to the back. They take the opportunity to come in, splash and go, and Rojas back on track.
Now the key for these boys is by taking this pit stop so early, you're not getting the fuel mileage that you did at Mexico City. At Mexico City, making the early stop, you should have been able to do it on one more stop to get to the checkered flag. Is going to be very tight for these guys. We believe about an hour under green flag racing. You double that up, it should go about 2 hours, 25 minutes if we don't see a lot of caution today. So they are outside of their window of doing it on one more stop unless they get some help with caution.
And the two of them are in a very safe area to run fast at. Nobody's around them. They don't have to worry about watching for a crash in front of them or whatever. They can run off laps now and really get the job done.
Updating you on GT, Dominic Farnbacher for Farnbacher Lowell still leads the way from Andrew Davis. That's as it was in qualifying. Nick Ham in the RX-8 Mazda for Speed Source is third. James Gouet in the Corvette for Stevenson Motorsports is fourth, and Dave Murray is in the top 5. There you go, from the Ganassi 01 Telmex Lexus Riley to the Porsche 911 of Dominic Farnbacher. Was just distraught, was devastated last year when he got hold of his Porsche in the second stint of the race, and it ended prematurely, didn't it, Chris?
Well, Lee, this team has been fast all year long, but it's about getting everything right. This GT field is so deep this year with so many quality teams that you have to get all the components right. The drivers have to be perfect on the racetrack, the team has to be perfect in pit lane, and they have to be making the right strategy calls. This team at Homestead, they had a regulator problem. They couldn't get the car up in the air, which dropped them well back in the pack. And then at Mexico, they had a fuel rig issue. Now, they did take that fuel rig apart while they were in between races this past weekend, but they couldn't find anything wrong with it. So kind of a big question mark right now is, are the pit stops going to be strong for this team, and can they keep that car out front?
Well, Dominic Farnbacher is really on a roll right now. He also competes in the American Le Mans Series, coming off 2 back-to-back victories on the street circuits there. Meanwhile, more pit stops.
This is Tracy Crone.
Guys, I think they're going to do the same thing. They're going to take this opportunity to get one of these pit stops out of the way for Tracy and get him out on the racetrack, run a little further back in the pack, get the opportunity now to fuel him, and Tracy Crone back underway as well.
Well, Jeff Hazel told me this morning that they wanted to give Tracy more track time than 30 minutes. They say for him to develop as a driver, we want to give him at least half the race. So they're not concerned about getting him out after 30 minutes. Take that early start. If there's a yellow, he'll gain track position, but the battle up front intensifies.
This is good stuff. One thing that the 58 Brumos team have failed to do this year is convert a good qualifying position into a solid race result. They have qualified all 3 races inside the top 10. At Homestead, they were on the top spot. Mexico City, they were 3rd, but they finished 13th, 19th, and 11th. It has not been good enough. They know it, and they want to make the most of it right here, right now at VIR, and get their first win in 5 years. Can the Brumos boys do it? We'll find out. It's great to have you with us here at VIR, folks, for round 4 of the Grand Am Rolex Series. It's not such good news, though, that we see the double yellows, full course caution for the very first time here on lap 8, and this is the reason why we're riding with Ted Ballou.
Down into turn 1 here, up ahead. Oh, a hit from behind, and Steve Johnson just ran right into the back of Ted Ballou. And that was in the break of turn 1. There is Steve Johnson. Look at the damage to the left rear wheel. He's not going anywhere.
And of course, he started from the back of the pack. Also, their car was 1 pound underweight following qualifying, so they got pushed to the back. Also, certain irony there, they got 2 of the biggest drivers in the series who probably give about 100 pounds away to the rest of the field. But rules are rules. 66 is in.
TRG outfit go to work to do what they can to get this Porsche back out on track. Evaluating the situation to send Ted Ballou and his co-driver Bryce Miller back out. Brian?
Tremendous amount of body work damage on the back of this Porsche. The question is, with the big hit on that right rear at that angle, did it get into any of the suspension? They're going to have to take care of this bumper first before they can get a look at the drive system on this Porsche. But remember, there's a lot of stuff back there, including the motor, obviously. This TRG team going to have to take a good long look at this 66 before they get him back out on track.
Brian, take a look at the exhaust system. Another vulnerable part there. I can see it from here that it's smashed in. And it's also where the tailpipe should come out is going to be into the bodywork. But that smashed in area is going to restrict the flow of exhaust gas.
Good call here, though, Dorsey. Whoa. Something wrong on the right rear because they want to try and beat this pace car. They don't want to go a lap down.
Now the problem they'll have, Calvin, if they do go back out like that, is that exhaust pipe being that close to the body will probably catch that. That's a fiberglass bit.
Guys, they're going to have to pull the right rear wheel off, and what they got to do is move the fender out. What happened when they dropped the car back down, they realized that fender, as it's pushed down, was going to be really rubbing on that Pirelli tire, and you don't want that on this high-speed circuit through the S's. The car would roll back and forth, and you'd get that bodywork into that tire and risk a blowout. While they're at it, one of the crew members looking at that exhaust pipe, like you talked about, Dorsey, they may try to bend that down a little bit, but really the restriction in the exhaust pipe is much further up right when it comes to the collector out of the engine. So, as you said, it's going to restrict the flow of exhaust gases out of that exhaust system, and that's not going to be good for this 6-cylinder engine.
And what I was talking about with Calvin is if it does breathe at all, Brian, it's going to take that hot exhaust gas onto that plastic rear panel. More than likely will melt that panel.
Doris, I think they're figuring it's damaged enough. They'll let it melt, bud.
Let her go.
Just coming up to 18 minutes into this event. And again, just to recap the rules again, to get points, the driver has to stay in the car for at least 30 minutes. And everyone has to make their first pit stop by the 45-minute mark. So I'd expect to see some action on pit road here.
Are we going to see any action from above? Those clouds still look rather nasty above, don't they? But we'll keep our eye on that, even though sunshine is on the VIR circuit. Look at pit road. It is alive. Chris.
Well, Michael Valiente brings the SunTrust machine to pit lane. Should be less than a 10-second stop here. Just doing fuel on the 10 car, doing fuel and tires on the 58 just behind him. Now, the interesting thing here, we were right at about 2 hours left in this race, so we should be in a position where it should be only one more stop. Brian?
Ricky Taylor brings the number 19 in. He was in 4th position when he came to pit road. Fuel only here for this Ford Crawford, and Ricky Taylor will head back on track. Right behind him, Bill Auberland out of the pit lane as well, Chris.
Well, the bonnet is off the back of the Brumos car right now. I just checked in with Darren Law. He said they've got a bit of a gearbox rattle, so the team was back there checking. I couldn't see if they actually found anything, but they've got that rear deck lid back on the car, sending David out. But these boys came in second. They're going out at the back of the DP grade.
Boy, and I tell you what, trying to find the rattle by looking at something, no, not going to find it. It's inside.
They just can't seem to catch a break. Getting back to Mexico City, they had great track position, didn't take a yellow when everyone else did, and what they thought there wasn't a fuel issue, it was more tire wear. There was early concerns in the weekend about the Pirellis really getting through that 60 lap mark, and everyone was really good once the track rubbered in. So just a strategy call. They got it wrong. They had the problem at Homestead, so they're due.
Guys, pay close attention to the order as they came back out. Ricky Taylor lost a lot of positions on pit road, but primarily because the steward at the end of pit lane held all the cars and would not let them go on track. So they ended up with a stack-up effect down there, and the number 3 just blew by the 19 as he tried to get out of pit lane. Another loser in all of that, like I said, was the 19 car. The big gainer was the 23. A great stop for them.
Joey Hand and Bill Auberland are very motivated to achieve a good result here this weekend. They won the final race of the Coney Challenge here in 2007. They would like more success, however, this time in a Daytona prototype in the Grand Am Rolex Series. There they are, already 1 podium so far from 3 races. They want a little more. Still under caution here at VIR. Let's get down to pit road.
Dominic Farnbacher bringing the lead GT car in pit lane. Just doing fuel on this car, a little bit ahead of us. One of the Mazdas, the 70 car, fuel and tires. Now, the interesting thing about Farnbacher is they didn't put Dirk Werner in the car. I would think that since Farnbacher is not in the points, they would have taken this opportunity to get Dirk behind the wheel. Brian?
Andrew Davison and the number 57 Stevenson Pontiac GXP. Remember, this is your race winner from Mexico City. Now, interestingly enough, their team car is pitted right in front of them, but came in behind them, so that's going to inhibit the 57 getting out of pit lane. Now there's a tire in the way, so a problem there. This pit stop not going the way they wanted to down here at Stevenson Motorsport.
Well, guys, we've talked about before the fact that they blocked the pit lane down there. They didn't let someone go, but there's more to it than that. We heard Ricky Taylor got passed by a couple of guys leaving pit lane. Well, we're still under caution. An advisory is not an advisory situation. Caution is a no passing situation. If he got passed, they're going to have to give that position back away to him.
It sounded like it momentarily stalled the engine. Brian was down there. Maybe he can fill us in. So I'm not sure what sequence of events happened for Ricky to lose that track position behind the 23 and the 3 that we're looking at right now. Brian?
Well, Calvin, you're right. He did kind of stall it leaving the pits, but everybody was stopped at pit out. He got the car rolling, and as he kind of was rolling up to the line, the car chugging, they opened pit lane, and it was the 3 car that flashed by him right there at the line. So, you know, whether Ricky was still having problems getting the engine fired, it sounded like the car was underway, but really hard to tell from where I was standing on pit road.
Of course, the pass in pit lane would be a legal thing. You know, if they beat each other out of the pit lane, that's fine. But if the pass occurred after they re-entered the racetrack, it would be an illegal pass.
I'm sure Max Crawford and everyone on that team will be asking the officials to get a clarification as to why they do not have their track position. Great point by Chris on the Farnbacher car. The fact that he's not running the full championship season, he would be willing to sacrifice points here today if it gave the team better strategy. If the driver does not do 30 minutes, it does not disqualify the car. It just stops that one driver from getting points. The other driver, as in Dirk Werner, would.
They obviously have a lot of faith, and why wouldn't they, in Dominic Farnbacher, very fast, young German driver, particularly in a Porsche 911. Chris, what do you have?
Well, Lee, it was a year ago this week that Bob Snodgrass passed away, and really, I know this was a very tough race last year, but also tough race this year because we're looking at a year ago now. How's the team getting through this week?
Well, so far we're doing pretty good. You know, Bob is always on our minds at every single race, but as you said, this race is important because it marks the year from his passing. So we're just trying to get it all together and bring home the win for him, but competition is pretty hard these days, so we're just kind of hanging in there.
Talking about the competition, the 58 really ready to break through and grab a victory here, but what kind of advice are you giving these guys over your long career? What are you telling them? What do they need to do to break through?
Well, they just got to be patient. I mean, as you said, the 58 car has been knocking on the door for a long time, and you know, we've just had bad luck is what the case might be, and you just have to be patient, and the luck will turn around, but you just can't afford to make mistakes. And Homestead, we made a little mistake with the 58 car. We got behind, and that was it. Daytona, we had a pretty nice run with both cars. My car was leading, but Lady Luck just wouldn't work with us, so we're hoping that we do our homework right here and we bring it home.
Well, it looks like Lady Luck has bit him once again with the problems with that gearbox.
Around the outside, John Fogarty tries to go on Mark Patterson, but it doesn't work that time. It's Jim Matthews who leads in the restart from John Pugh in his first race here in a Daytona prototype. Now look at Joey Hand pushing through on the inside, gets by the Krone car. This is where Dorsey said, keep your eyes on these opening sequence of corners. They go side by side. There's some forceful driving. They all try to gain a few positions right here.
Every restart, you have an opportunity to be very aggressive and make up some ground, take over some positions, if you will. But you have to hold that in text, because if it doesn't happen, you want to be straight right here as you go up through the high-speed S area.
Think about the strategy that was employed by the 99 and the 01. Yes, they stopped earlier than everyone else, but just a handful of laps. So they now have track position over Michael Valiente. Fogarty clears some traffic. That's Mark Patterson. Memo Rojas to the outside. That's a dodgy spot. Will Valiente respond to the inside? Yes, he does.
Pushes his way through at the Oak Tree, Michael Valiente. Another position, and that now puts an enormous gap between Fogarty and Rojas.
That's the problem of trying to make a pass and not completing it. Leave the back door open, and someone will be there to take that position from you.
Jim Matthews is still at the head of the train, but watch out for the 99 machine. Here comes Fogarty.
What about Mark Patterson, guys? He's holding his own against some of the toughest right now.
He really is. John Pugh there in the number 6. And Jim Matthews, I think he's really found a lot of speed over the last 18 months, doing a tremendous job. Has handed the car over to Mark Goosens to come through with 3 really strong finishes in the first 3 events. They're currently second in points. Just a tremendous season so far for Jim and the boys.
I asked Jim yesterday about what did the win in Mexico City do for the team. Fogarty sizes up John Pugh and executes that move fairly easily and very cleanly. And Matthews was incredibly humble, and he said, look, it's what I did is very minuscule in the whole thing. It's all about the team and what Mark Goossens did. And I said, yeah, but you had to give him the car in good shape. And he said, yeah, well, I'm trying. I'm getting better. He's doing a terrific job up front right now.
Lee, you look at these impressive runs right now by Mark Patterson and John Pugh. And for Pugh, this is the first time he's raced VIR, the long course. So Mark Patterson has been here before. But really what this does is shows how well this team is preparing for each race weekend before they even get to the racetrack. Talking with Oswaldo Negri, he said, I spent about 10 to 15 hours just working with Mark in race prep, looking at notes, looking at videos, going over what we need to do with the GT cars, and really where the cars need to be on the racetrack at each and every point. Brian?
Well, just to put a period on the Ricky Taylor pit stop, I just went down and talked to Katie Crawford-Wallace and said, you know, what was the deal here in pit lane? And she said, well, we couldn't go to the left lane because the pit lane rules now are you've got to be at 45 miles an hour to be in the outside lane. We can't get to 45 miles an hour to the outside lane because of where we're pitted. So as Ricky was trying to get the speed up before he got to the left-hand lane, he got passed by a car that was already up to speed.
The revised order is Jim Matthews, John Fogarty, John Pugh, Mark Patterson, Michael Valiente, Rojas is 6th, Frizzell, that's Brian, is in 7th, Joey Hand, Shane Lewis and JC France. And here he is, up front, John Fogarty, new race leader.
This is key for John right now. He needs to lay down some good, clean laps here, really try and spread the field here before Rojas clears the traffic in front of him.
I think he's thinking the same way you are, the way he's driving right now.
Well, it's worked out well for the 99, and there's a problem for the 58. So David Donahue, Darren Law's day is not going well, and that gearbox trouble continues. Talking strategy, working well so far for the 99, the Gainsco team. It's working well for the 07 of Kelly Collins. Here he is leading the GT class right now.
We said that was going to be hard. What happened to all that hard business?
Yeah. Well, that is the one thing. I mean, when you're at the back of the field, you don't have to be conservative. You can really roll the dice a little bit. And with these rules this year, it does allow people to get back in the game, and that's what it's all about, is keeping it exciting.
Fairly healthy margin that he boasts over Dominic Farnbacher. Eric Lux in the sister Farnbacher car is running 3rd, ahead of the Speed Source Mazda of Nick Hammond. Tom Nastasi in the Black Forest Mustang is in the top 5 in GT. Very important race for Dominic Farnbacher and Dirk Werner. There's Eric Lux, teamed with Lee Keane.
Right behind that is Nick Ham. The car destroyed in Mexico last week. This is a team also that did a really good job. Took that car to Crawford Engineering, cut the whole back end from the windshield back off, and refabricated a new one.
Yeah, just a tremendous amount of work. But for Nick Ham, when you talk to him as you did this weekend, Lee, he's really not, he's a little bit nervous. He's really trying to find what he needs to do to be conservative, not find himself in the wrong spot on the racetrack.
Well, guys, a tough week has just gotten even harder for the Brumos, Pugh. They're pushing the 58 back behind the wall, taking it back down to the trailer because David Donahue has lost drive with that car. So more transmission problems. He can't keep the car running. They're going to see if they can get it back to the trailer and try and get something fixed back there.
Hurley said it, didn't he? They got bad luck. Another car in the pits. Last week's winner.
Jim Matthews brings the Riley Matthews Motorsports car to pit lane, and 31 minutes gone in the race, so he has done enough to get points.
There'll be a driver change here, I would assume. Mark the Goose, boy, is he fast. He's really shown his stuff this year. Had that big win at the end of last season. There you see him, the tall guy jumping in. He's very laid back, but he is fired up when he gets behind that steering wheel. Brian.
He's been so relaxed all weekend long, and he talks about that race win last week, and he said, I said, you never put a wheel wrong, spectacular drive. And he said, well, that's what I'm supposed to do. Thank you very much. And right now, routine pit stop. Jim Matthews out of the car. This crew, very experienced. Pit stop done. Goossens underway. Chris?
Ryan, a routine stop also by the 60. Mark Patterson out, Oswaldo Negri behind the wheel. This team felt like they were so close at Mexico City, but one of the problems is they just didn't get the shocks right, and they didn't have the equipment there to make it right, so they struggled throughout that race, but it still was a good finish for them. They said the car is right today. Now they're just hoping Oz has enough time to get it back up front.
I like this strategy. They got the 30 minutes in. They made their driver change. If there's another yellow, then the next 30 minutes there'll be a lot of other cars pit. They will then assume track position, and they only need one stop. By getting to the 30-minute mark, they will make the rest of this race only one more fuel stop needed, depending on yellows. If they got a yellow and they took it, then it might be a different story. But if it went green, they could do it on one more stop.
That could be key at the end of this day.
6th, a 3rd, a 5th. Good enough to have Oswaldo Negri and Mark Patterson fourth in the Daytona Prototype Championship. An outstanding start to the 2008 season. Can anybody go with this car right now? John Fogarty is setting some pretty impressive lap times. And here comes John Pugh. Second Mike Shank car coming to the lane.
Valiente has grabbed second. He'd already taken that position away from John Pugh on that lap. So the gentleman drivers, as we call them, I don't really think that's fair, because some of them are blazingly fast and they're making their pit stops, and the faster guys are getting in.
And let's give John Pugh a pat on the back before we forget about it. Yesterday, in his first full race meeting here at a Daytona Prototype, he was the fastest in the Truman Award qualifying session. Well done. Chris?
Well, the 6 car, the sister car on the Shank team in pit lane. Problems here. They can't get the car up in the air. So trying to get Ian James in behind the wheel. They've already got fuel done, but they haven't gotten those tires done because they couldn't get the car up in the air. I don't know what was wrong with the fuel bottle, but they switched over to a different hose to get the car up. So, looking at the fuel strategy here, guys, the teams that came in before the caution probably are going to have to make 2 more stops. The teams that came in during the caution are right on that edge. These Shank boys, they're definitely good for just 1 more stop. Brian?
Standing here with Scott Pruitt. Scott, we talked strategy before the race and about coming in early, and it seems to have worked perfectly for you guys. Just a real intelligent call on your part, or a lot of luck?
All that is pure luck. We're trying to do what we can. Us and the 99 are on the same strategy right now. Mel's doing a good job. Telmex car's running great. We just got to be patient and smart. You want to make those moves that you can in traffic, but obviously you don't want to do anything that's going to put you in harm's way. Now the way the race is kind of unfolding, we got to be smart enough to keep running a hard pace. Now a lot of these guys are still going to have to make a pit stop before that 45-minute mark. So there's still a lot left to unfold and a lot of racing left.
And we talked earlier, too, about points. Every point is critical in this championship. You guys know it. It was 1 point that kept you from it last year. Fuel stops. Can you do it on 1, or is it going to take 2 from here without more caution?
We're just going to make 1 more stop. That's why we planned to stop when we did. So from here on out, we'll just do 1 stop, get me in the car, go on to the checkered flag. So everything's working real good right now, but come back to us in a little while and see how it's going.
Best of luck.
Yes, long way to go for the Telmex Ganassi squad. Great run from the 61, tucked in behind there. Brian Frizella's in the top 4, driving an excellent race so far before he hands over to Mark Wilkins. Look what happened a few moments ago here between the 15 and the 97. James Guay gets clobbered by the 15th of Tom Nastasi, and they spin to the outside of turn 1.
That's so disappointing for James Guay. He did some testing with this car and was blindingly quick. Just a sniff off of the 57 machine, and there he gets taken out. Tom just got too late on the brakes.
We've got an interesting one unfolding here, haven't we? VIR, round 4 of the Grand Am Rolex Series. As we welcome you back to VIR, Joey Hand has his hands full with Scottish driver Ryan Dial, who has taken over from Henry Zogabe in the Samax BMW and is flying. Remember, here last year, he finished 4th with Jean-Francois Dumoulin for the Samax team. And that number 2 car, keep an eye on it.
Here he comes, pulling the draft down this back straightaway. Joey will protect. Ryan Dial looks to the inside. Can he make it stick? Traffic up ahead. No, Joey shuts the door. Interesting strategy call by the Samax team. Henry Zogabe did not get the 30 minutes in to score points, but he's willing to forgive that to get the car to the front of the pack here. And Ryan Dial is going to try and strut his stuff this afternoon. He is one very fast race car driver, and the team is excellent. He should do well here.
Well, Cal, Henry really thrown himself on the sword this weekend for going all those championship points and what he can really do in the Truman Aiken Award. But really, what it comes down to is this team has had the best car they've had all year long. Talking to Ryan earlier today, he said the car is absolutely amazing. They were just concerned whether they were going to be able to get it up to the front with the limited time after you go past that 30-minute mark. Well, Henry said today, you know what, I'm giving it up for the team because I think these guys can win, and Ryan right now showing a lot of speed.
A lot of people, while everybody talks about the Pontiac power plant and the Ford power plant and the Lexus power plant, let's not forget about this Dynon BMW and watch it go, because it has opened a few people's eyes up this year, and Dial will show as he gets a little taily just what it can do.
A bit too much talk there, Dorsey.
Well, look here. Ryan Dial's got something he's got to worry about, too. It's called Nick Johnson in that Chrome Racing Dallara right behind him there. He's putting the pressure on as well. So, like I said before, if you mount an attack, if you try to make a pass, you better get it done, because if he doesn't, Johnson will take that position away.
Yes, that green Lola is...
Lola, I'm sorry, yeah.
Standing right there, waiting to make a move. Dial, these 2 former Atlantic racers, very fast young men. now make their careers in sports car racing, and it's all the better for the Grand Am Rolex Series that we've got drivers of this caliber here.
Look
Here
at Ricky
comes
Taylor.
Ricky Taylor in the Crawford now.
Just recovered well. Had that problem in the pit stop. He's now looking at the back of this pack. So difficult for Joey Hand to try to thread his way through that GT traffic. We talked about the narrow racetrack. The nature of this race course, Dorsey, through the S is very difficult there to pick your way through without having a problem.
You know, they're looking for traffic. Traffic usually breaks it up. Ryan Deal not giving any quarter whatsoever. I mean, he's right there. And there's going to be traffic right in front of him headed toward turn 1.
When we were in that last break, JC France served a stop-go penalty for contact with Ricky Taylor in the 19. There's no visible signs of any major damage as he starts to force the issue with Nick Johnson. Dial is still working away on Joey Hand into turn 1. No way through.
Good stuff here as they go by another one of the GT cars. We don't want to call them back markers. They're racing in a different class, and they're going as fast as they can go.
It's Tom Long in the 21, the Matt Connolly Pontiac GTOR.
What a qualifying performance he put in. A local driver, knows the track exceptionally well, but that 21 car's been fast all season long.
This battle, incidentally, is for 5th, for a top 5 place. Johnson is 7th, and then Ricky Taylor is in 8th. John Fogarty still leads by 2.5 seconds over Michael Valiente.
Good to see the two Crawfords out here again. There's the person who goes to Ruby Tuesday with Porsche Power.
Boy, it's fast through there, isn't it?
It's a great
it's so
shot.
tough when the guy in front of you is taking the sight line away and you're just kind of queuing off that rear bodywork in front of you. You got to be brave.
That is an awesome shot. We see the speed there.
Brian, tell us more about the 76.
As you watch Nick Johnson go through Oak Tree and down the long back straightaway, I had a chance to talk to Ricardo Zonta, his teammate, and also Jeff Hazel, who calls the shots on that team. So pleased with the performance in Mexico City, but they said we still have a little bit of a parasitic drag issue. So down these long straightaways, it's really hampering us a bit. And you saw that the last time they're on the straightaway, Johnson really falling off the back of the cars in front of him. The car is so good through the tight sections of the racetrack, and they improve every weekend. We saw the podium finish in Mexico City with this long straightaway here at Virginia International Raceway. Really not a friend to that Lola right now.
I had some parasitic drag last week in Mexico
That's
City.
what I was about to say, too. I'm not sure it was drag, but it was definitely parasitic.
That's carried on this week for a few of the drivers as well. Robin Liddell is one of them who is suffering from some illness here at VIR. Now, while there are two brothers in this race, the Frizzell boys, Bert and Brian, let's give a pat on the back to the younger of the two, Brian, who has set the fastest lap of the race so far at a 1:45.80 and is currently sitting 4th in the AIM Autosport Ford Riley. Fogarty is still the race leader, but that is being whittled away by Michael Valiente. Let's go to the Gainesco camp.
Seeing that number 99 car up in front is nothing new, but Bob Stallings, the problem in qualifying was something new, but you're always the statesman. You put out a nice press release, and lo and behold, you did what you said you would do. You overcame. You're out in front. How difficult is this team to overcome something like that and put it behind them?
Well, I mean, obviously, I got the best crew, and I got the best drivers, and I got a hell of a engine and a chassis. So I mean, we have a lot of tools to get over this stuff. I was pretty hot yesterday and kind of a little bit disappointed about the ruling. But I got to tell you something. I do believe in Grand Am. I believe in Dave Spitzer. He's kind of the new sheriff in town. Guy's going to bring a lot of good things to our series. But I'm not always going to agree with him. You know what I mean?
Well, these boys took their medicine, and now they've taken the 99 to the front, guys.
Fogarty is looking good, isn't he? Just to run through the order, it's Fogarty, Valiente, Rojas, Frizzell, and Hand, the top 5.
Question on that 99 machine, of course, is taking that pit stop very early in this race. Will they be able to stretch their fuel and do it on just one more stop? I think they may need just a handful of laps under caution to help them out.
Look at Fogarty right there, really dive it down into turn 1. Of course, he's trying to put that 70 Mazda, Nick Ham, between him and Michael Valiente. Valiente's not that far back right there in the Dallara.
We'll find out how it plays out for the Gainesco and Ganassi squad. They pitted just one lap apart with still so much to go. The first official event of 2008 for Formula SAE was held at VIR this weekend. Formula SAE, or the Society of Automotive Engineers, challenges teams of college students to design and build small formula-style autocross cars for competition. 43 colleges and universities registered for the VIR event, including Alabama, Cincinnati, the Air Force Academy, and of course, local favourite Virginia Tech. Over the 3 days, the cars are judged in a series of events including tech inspection, cost, presentation, solo performance trials, and high-performance track endurance.
Think Lee could get one of those?
Well, I think that some of those chassis look short enough his legs may even reach the pedals for a change.
People in glass houses. That's all I'll say. Welcome back, folks, to VIR. And let's talk GT. We ride with the class leader, Kelly Collins. But look at the 87 of Dominic Farnbacher. This battle is heating up.
Farnbacher almost got in too deep, had to go wide. Good job of saving that. Gets pretty dirty on the outside, Calvin. You can go around pretty simply out there.
And the key is here, there's that Dominic is not running for the championship himself. Yes, his teammate is, and he'll certainly be aware of that. But what is the mentality, Dorsey, for the driver when he's really not got his championship on the line? He wants to win, right?
Yeah, he doesn't care either. He certainly doesn't care about the Pontiac out in front of him once it's leading the championship.
Porsche has enjoyed a couple of victories here in GT competition. Chris, can Farnbacher do it again?
Well, I would have thought that Dominic would have gotten out of that first caution there, but he didn't. Dirk, this is your championship. Why aren't you in the car?
I'm getting old. My doctor said I shouldn't work so hard anymore. So I stayed out, and I think we will make it with only one more pit stop till the end. And Dominic is doing an awesome job right now, so he's closing up to the Pontiac in the last few laps. And if he keeps the car in a good distance to the Pontiac, I think we'll have a good shot in the end of the race. So that's what we need for the championship, to close up a little bit and be ahead of the Pontiac at this race. So everybody is doing his best, and if we have a good last pit stop, I think we will be looking good.
Well, now Dorsey's in the booth saying that Dominic's going to throw it all away. He's going for the win, and he doesn't care if he's hitting anybody. Did you have a little talk with him before the race?
No, he knows that he is not driving the whole championship, so he's very smart. He will bring it safe to the next pit stop. If not, perhaps we have to talk.
No, he's not only smart, he's fast, guys.
And these two very likable young German drivers had a rather unorthodox start to the weekend. Their flights were delayed heavily from Frankfurt. They got stuck in Chicago, and they made it here, but without their gear. They missed the first practice session. They were stuck, in fact, with Scott Pruitt in Chicago, trying to work out a strategy on how to get here. At one sage, they even thought about driving, I think it was a 14-hour drive or something. They said, no, we best not do that.
It's the only way to get anywhere is to drive anymore. If you want to get there.
Back up front, Fogarty leads by 4.8 seconds. There is the second place car, the Pontiac Dallara, with Michael Valiente behind the wheel. Rojas is third. Brian Frizzell for AIM Autosport is still fourth, and Ryan Dial did get by Joey Hand for that top 5 spot. Look at the S's. Just the best.
It's so much fun to be at a racetrack like this if you're a spectator. Go out there and camp right by those S's, see those cars work up through there. Beautiful. Now there's some new chalets up there too, some new condos that they're selling.
Good viewing spot, about 155 miles an hour when they approach the S's. The lowest speed is about 100, so very fast indeed. A great sensation watching the camera angle coming through there. So Valiente currently holding down second place. Brian Frizzell was a little bit quicker than these guys on that last lap. May have been traffic, but this is a very strong partnership that he and Mark Wilkins have in this 61 machine. A great team, very young team, and great to see these type of teams forming here in the Grand Am Series.
And I know I shouldn't say this, but my hats are off to these guys that are staying on the racetrack this time, because we talked about at the beginning of the show that the grass is wet. It's been raining all night. And if we do get cars going off, we're going to get a lot of cautions. They've kept it down to 1 right now. Good job, boys.
Ricky Taylor and Jared Beyer are the kids, for want of a better word, this weekend, the two 18-year-olds. But Brian Frizzell and Mark Wilkins are only 24. This is a relatively small team, a lot of experience in Formula Renault and Star Mazda, but not at this level. It's only their second year in Daytona prototypes, and they're taking the fight to Ganassi, to Wayne Taylor Racing, to the big boys. An outstanding performance from Brian Frizzell so far.
He was the fastest guy on that last lap, so he's really putting the pressure now on Memo Rojas. There you see Fogarty out front, then some GT traffic, then second, third, and fourth.
Remember at Mexico a week ago, it was a gearbox seal that failed. It put oil onto the headers, and there was smoke everywhere. That was the end of their day. They really thought that could have been a podium chance. Maybe it's going to come here at VIR in the state of Virginia, where Frizzell used to live with his brother Bert.
Guys, we talk about the success of the 01 and the 99, and remember their problems in qualifying, and what you may or may not have seen in great detail is one of these Daytona prototype rear wings. Get the rear wing assembly and then an end plate and then this gurney lip, as they call it, and you can change the size of it by moving this little lever and sliding this lip out. It runs the length of this rear wing. Well, this is the offending piece on both the 01 and the 99. It was just a couple of thousandths over, but rules are rules. A little bit too tall. The air comes over the wing and then up and over this gurney. The taller it is, the more downforce you have. So when you hear somebody talk about a gurney lip on the back of a wing or on a front wing on a Formula type car, it's this little lip on the back. And like I said, they come in different sizes. The teams change them to add or subtract downforce.
And of course, the reason they call it a gurney lip is because it was invented by Alex's father. Dan Gurney himself came up with the idea of that gurney lip, thus the gurney.
Irony that his son Alex was in one of the cars that got disqualified from qualifying, but here we go. Rojas really had a good look at Valiente. He defended well down that long back stretch, with Brian Frizella's right there. So again, we saw Rojas make a move earlier in the race, cost him position, but right now that 61 car is really putting the pressure on.
Well, that 61 car putting the pressure on because the Frizzell brothers really look at VIR as their home track because of all their time with Synergy. But Mark, how about you? Do you like the track too?
Oh, I absolutely love this track. I mean, we've been very quick all weekend. We worked really hard again, like in Mexico. And, you know, we've got a great car right now. Brian's doing a fantastic job keeping it up there, putting some pressure on Memo. And, you know, I think we're going to be in good shape.
The team really ready to break through and get a victory. Just little things here and there, bad luck. Have you guys done anything different this weekend to try and get that victory?
No, I mean, the guys always do a great job, and I mean, it was one of those fluke things last weekend, and, you know, the guys have worked so hard just to make sure everything's perfect and everything's perfected for this weekend, and you know what, I mean, we just have to drive the wheels off it, and hopefully we'll be there right at the end.
But one of those fluke things, a seal that just costs a couple dollars, takes them out of a race that takes $100,000 to run.
They're very much in the mix right now, though. Ian Willis, Andrew Bourdain, and the entire AIM Autosport team will be very excited by the start to round 4. They say bad things come in threes, and it has happened to Wayne Taylor Racing and SunTrust. Michael Valiente off the track and is stuck, cannot get any traction. He has been tagged by the 01 of Memo Rojas and is stuck.
This is what I said at the opening of the show. Not only is the problem that you get off and it's a downhill run, but you can't get going again. Let's take a look. Rojas hits the curb, gets into the side of the 10 again. Now he pushes Valiente around. Good job by Frizzell missing that. Valiente drives off into the dirt. We have a better view of this, I think, on the second view. Here you go. Yeah, Rojas just loosens him up and puts him off.
That's right, where Angelelli took the hit from Rockefeller at the end of the race in 06. He kept it on the island. Michael forced off the racetrack. Tries to keep it lit and try and keep the momentum on the racetrack, but just falls away. As you said, Dorsey, there's no way back.
There is damage on the 01, though. Look at the right side there, Dorse.
Oh, that's not good.
Wayne, you've had a chance to listen to Michael on the radio. What's he reporting to the team?
Rojas hit him, put him off the road. He's stuck in the mud.
Well, obviously, Wayne Taylor very disappointed down here. This team just can't get their mojo back.
Well, that's 3 times they've been hit from behind. When you think about it, it was accidentally David Donahue at Homestead. It was that racing incident involving Matt Plum in Mexico City, and now this one here with Memo Rojas, and that was disbelief on Wayne Taylor's face, that's for sure. And Valiente, after putting this car on the pole, inheriting the pole, I should say, after those tech infractions from the other teams, and it was a strong, fast car.
He lost a lap, Lee, importantly, so that is really taking them out of the mix here for this one. Max the Axe is going to jump in, and it's going to be a long day ahead for him, just trying to score some points, but their championship hopes get dimmer and dimmer each weekend at the moment.
Well, they're 11th, Dorsey, in the points. That is a long way to come back. It's early in the season.
It is, but I mean, this is the most frustrating thing as a team, a top caliber team like this. They're not doing anything wrong, but they're just falling into a bad streak of bad luck, and it just makes you pull your hair out, because how do you fix it? What do I got to do to get out of this slump?
It's not only one of the lead DP cars in trouble, the GT87 is in strife too, Chris.
Yeah, more problems for more top teams out here. We can see the 87 up in the air. They're taking that front bumper cover off. They're going to replace the radiator on the left side. Now, we remember back to last year when Dominic Farnbacher took his car off the racetrack and really pulled the radiator right off the front of that Porsche. It looks like the same thing happened with the 87 here because that front bumper cover really bent under, and now we're seeing these radiators dumping a lot of fluid down here in pit lane. So major problems for another championship contending team.
And you know what amazes me about this is Porsche, a top caliber racing manufacturer, this is a weak point that's been a weak point for how many years now? You think they would have found a better way at some point to get rid of this radiator sitting right behind the nose situation?
We do see it often, and we're going to see a replay here in a moment between the 10 and the 01, and we'll have to see how it was initiated, Dorsey.
Well, here we go. You saw Rojas get down there in the curve and loosened him up, but he gets into the 10, and right here I think pushes him around, to be honest. Valiente all the smoke because he kept the car floored trying to keep that engine running. Another look. Right here is where he really takes him out, isn't it? I mean, he loosened him up, but the second one took him around.
This maybe gives our best view from the 66 onboard. Still see it a little bit late there. The incident had already been initiated there as Rojas took to the grass on the inside to try and pass him. Michael didn't give him any more room. I wouldn't say he did anything wrong, just good hard racing from Michael Valiente's point, and Rojas forced the issue a little bit.
And nobody needed to guide Brian Frizzell through the gap. He saw it, went for it, and now sits second in this motor race. This is the Bosch Engineering 250 at VIR. Still under the second full course caution here at Virginia International Raceway, and everybody is diving for pit lane.
Interesting call. We've got about 46 laps to go in this event. There's no way any of these guys will do it on fuel without another stop. Looked like the 99 was going to stay out, then they didn't. Brian.
Damage to the front of the 01. We saw the contact with the 10 car. That damage up there. Memo Rojas out. Scott Pruitt in. Remember, Scott Pruitt said points. We need every point we can. Well, they just threw a bunch of them away. And when you look at the problems right now, 01, 99, and 10, those are three cars you would have thought would have been leaders in the championship by now, guys.
Well, I firmly believe the 99 intended to stay out. Then they looked in their rearview mirror, so saw that no one was staying with them, and they were going to be out to lunch. So they then made the stop, but there's problems here on the rear end of the 99 machine.
A whole back section ready, Calvin. See it up there on the wall. One guy holding. Looks like they're going to pull the whole rear clip off. We don't know why that is yet. I don't see damage.
Working feverishly right now in the back end of this car, and they're taking the rear wing out. It's the damage to the right side of this rear assembly, the right side of it all torn off right underneath the right wing, or the right side of the rear wing behind the right rear wheel. So all that's gone. All of that creates a lot of downforce, and at this racetrack you definitely need it. So the crew going to work here, it's going to be a long fix. There are a couple of attachments down on the side of the gearbox and a couple of other supports, some struts that go into the gearbox and the oil tank as well. So it's going to be a long fix here for the 99
Brian,
team.
I know it's busy down there, but when you get a moment, if you can check where that happened, if you see John Fogarty, because we have not yet seen that on camera. Maybe it was coming through traffic, maybe somebody rear-ended him.
Well, the whole side of the 59 is missing too. I don't think that was from before. I'm just guessing, but now they're going to send him back out with no rear body work. This is to stay ahead of the pace car. They'll, of course, complete this lap, come back and start to put that new wing on. Good
Made
call.
the dive for pit lane very late, but that was quite a bit of damage to actually bump someone coming into pit lane. It had to happen before then, I would believe.
Yeah, I agree. That's way too. That's a pretty strong area of the race car, the back end. To have it torn off that bad, something big happened out there we haven't caught up with yet.
Boy, what a chaotic period of 5-10 minutes.
Nick Johnson leads the pack right now. They did not pit, along with the 16 machine. Tom Kimber-Smith joining Chiva Racing this weekend.
This car is in a strong position as well. Ryan Dial for Samax. Chris?
Well, amazing pit stops down here by the 2 and the 61 guys. Brian Frizzell getting out of the 61, and Mark Wilkins getting in. Ryan DL did get out in front of the 61 as the two cars left pit lane. They did have a little side-to-side contact, so this very narrow pit lane putting these two drivers in a position where they were fighting over the same real estate. Now also down here in pit lane, keep an eye on Oswaldo Negri. He got very lucky. He had a puncture right before that caution came out and had to come to pit lane to replace a right front tire. Then the caution came out, so he's not going to lose too much time. We're going to have to see where he ends up after everybody else has come off pit lane.
So, as we cruise with Oswaldo Negri for Mike Shank Racing, contact between the 59 Brumos Porsche and the 99 Gainsco Pontiac. That's the story.
That's what I kind of thought. I saw the 59 with the whole side missing, and the last skirmish that car was involved in didn't do that much damage, but we didn't see the 99, the 59, but that makes sense.
I think this is a good call by the Krohn Racing team to get track position for Nick Johnson. We've seen that Lola be very fast, but not fast down the straightaway, so they can run the lap times. It's just getting the car to the front. They will certainly need to stop again, but the rest of this field will too. Probably a shorter stop than the 76 car.
Calvin, that's a strange thing. The whole side of the 59's tore up, and of course we saw the back end of the 99. So I don't know how they got the cars in that position, but stuff happens.
So the way that the caution rules work now is first dibs go to Daytona prototypes. Second time round, the pits open for the GT cars, and Kelly Collins, the class leader, we imagine will hand over to Paul Edwards. Eric Lux is in, Nick Ham is in, all the front runners. Brian.
It is crowded here in pit lane. Paul Edwards taking over for Kelly Collins, as you said, Lee. He almost got hit by the 57 as he was running out to get in the car. It should be a routine stop. The front tires already going on, fuel going in. Everything looks good here. Not a mark on the 07, Chris.
Well, the 86 in, it looks like that car is going to have to carry the flag for Farnbacher this weekend. Also the 70, the Mazda, Sylvain Tremblay getting behind the wheel of the car that won the Daytona 24 this weekend. This team just finishing up tires, waiting for fuel, still spending quite a bit of time on the driver change here, but the 86 still in pit lane. Brian?
Robin Liddell taking over in the 57, Andrew Davis out, and they had to get the car very close to the wall to get past the 07 car, and a drag race out of pit road right now. The 57 looks like he had beat the 07, and Mike Johnson running down to an official saying, hey, we beat him out of pit lane, but the 07 went past him as they headed down pit road.
You did some good work there too, Twinkle Toes. You almost got run over. Hey?
It's dancing with the stars, baby.
The biggest challenge for the drivers is missing Brian's butt when they come down pit lane.
So Paul Edwards climbs aboard. Two-time GT champion Mark Bunting climbs aboard the 06 Banner Pontiac. There's driver changes everywhere. This is Bryce Miller climbing aboard the 66 TRG Porsche. A very, very busy period of time.
But it's coming up on this car, so more problems here for TRG today.
It has been a very troublesome weekend for the 66. They'll be glad to see the end of VIR. Welcome back, everyone, to VIR. Lee Diffie, Calvin Fish and Dorsey Schrader with you, along with Chris Neville and Brian Till. It has been busy here in Virginia, that's for sure, but as you can see, the lights are out on the Pontiac G8, and it will take to pit lane, and we'll get back to racing with Nick Johnson in the Proto Auto Pontiac Lola right up front. We will see.
You can blame this one on me. I was the one that said they were clean.
Get ready. They pack up, they line up, they form up, and we go racing again at VIR. Fresh from a podium, Nick Johnson leads this field. What a week it's been for Krohn Racing.
The car in second spot on track right now, the 60 machine. He is a lap down, so Ozzie Negri will try and get that position back, try and get back on the lead lap, as well as this man, Angelelli. He is going to be hot under the collar. He wants to get to the front of this pack, catch another caution. Maybe the SunTrust team can rebound from this.
Alex Gurney back on pit road in the number 99. They'll go back to putting the rear end back on this car, and it was actually a good call not only to get out on the lead lap, but the car was also overheating as well, so they need to get the air through the radiators. The other good thing that they did, they removed all the offending pieces, so now all they have to do is attach about 6 bolts to get this rear section back on, and they'll be able to get the rear engine cover on and get the car back on track.
Whoa, that was close between Pruitt and who was in the other one, Eric Vanderpool. In the second Krohn car, that was a close call.
Well, they hit. Pruitt hit the side of Vanderpool's car, knocked him off the road a little bit. We've seen this aggressive driving lately from Scott Pruitt. We'll take a look at it again. There's no doubt they made contact. Watch Pruitt. Blue and white car moves inside. Now, maybe they didn't get it, but they were going to hit if Vanderpool didn't run in the ditch.
That was for position. I believe it's Tracy Krohn still behind the wheel of the 75 machine doing an extended stint here today.
Indeed it is, and that was a very close call. We go back to the 10. Let's get the side of the story from the man who was in the cockpit. He's with Chris.
Well, Michael Valiente has had a chance to cool down, but Michael, what happened from your perspective?
Well, we're going down the back straightaway. Rojas had a bit of a run because traffic is so bad here. and he tried passing me on the outside, and he couldn't get by me because the next corner was a right-hand turn. And we went through it. He tried staying alongside of me. I gave him room, and he hit me once in the rear. I kind of saved it, hit me again, and then just spun me out. So I had nowhere to go to. I couldn't even see him, and he just hit me in the left rear corner.
Well, last weekend it was Fogarty Rojas. This weekend, Valiente Rojas.
Yeah, he's
Memo
been in
Rojas.
the thick of it, hasn't he? Sorry, Brian, go ahead.
That's all right, guys. Memo Rojas up on the timing stand now, watching the progress of the cars going around the racetrack. Memo, close racing out there. VIR always is, but what happened with the 10 car?
Well, I'm really sad for what happened. Michael is a very good friend of mine, and that's the last car I would have wanted to get in contact with. I don't know really. I gave him room on the outside on the first turn at the end of the back straight. He gave me room on the outside of the next one, and then he just chopped me. I really tried to avoid it, but I slammed on the brakes, and it wasn't enough before he chopped me. We were just running side by side through that twisting section, and when he was on the outside, he just tried to get to the inside. I was all over the curb. There was nothing I could do to avoid him, and unfortunately, we got in contact.
Well, two different drivers, two different points of views, guys, and you heard Scott Pruitt say we need the points, but they are slipping away.
And they can argue over that as much as they like, because we're going to sit here and enjoy this racing. This is good stuff. Pruitt and Ryan Dial. Angelelli's there as well. This is good stuff. A variety of cars, variety of manufacturers, and very good drivers going hard at it.
How easy is Angelelli going to let Pruitt by? I don't think so. He saw what happened on the camera. He saw what happened on screen. He is not happy camper with the Ganassi team right at this point.
I love it when everybody's mad at everybody else.
Well, it used to be you stirring the pot, didn't it?
That's good. It's good stuff.
Right at the front of the pack, we saw Johnson leading again in that Lola. Negri wants that lap back. Does he enough straightaway speed? There he goes, down to the inside, not for position. Negri back on the lead lap.
But that's a great move, and that's a move he had to make because if a caution should come out, and it wouldn't surprise me a bit if it does, he's going to be right back in the hunt.
Smart too from Nick Johnson. No need for him to get tangled up in that. Tom Kimber-Smith is second in this race at the moment. Angelelli needs to do what Oswaldo Negri just did and get back on the lead lap.
Oh, there's some smoke in that area right there. I tell you what, these guys are really giving it their all, and they all have a little bit for each one another.
Kimber-Smith was entered in the 16 machine at Daytona. Didn't get to run. The car broke early. Didn't get any laps. Comes back here. Nice qualifying performance up in the top 10. Young Englishman has won at Le Mans in class. Very successful sports car driver of his own right over in Europe.
Yeah, runner-up in the British GT Championship, and he is here, because Antonio Garcia, who is the regular driver in that car, alongside Matteo Bobby, has duties in Europe this weekend.
Starting to see the balls of rubber come out of these cars, which is an indicator that they're really putting down a lot of rubber on the track, and they're picking up that spent rubber and getting in the big balls in the back of the car.
Wonder where you were going for a minute with that.
Uh-oh. Spin here for the 77 of Mamo Gidley in the Doran Dallara. The Kodak machine needs to flick spin it here and get it pointed back in the right direction.
There you go. You don't want to go downhill too far. There's a problem.
Yep.
See, that's the problem I was talking about. Now he's getting in a situation where he's got to keep headed downhill, go down this way, and he'll find back to the track by going downhill.
That's exactly what you were talking about at the top of the show, Dorsey. This is what happened to Gidley.
I just got himself out of position early in the corner. Calvin under braking.
Look at this. Angelelli is not on the lead lap. The car you see first, the cask number 16, Crown Royal Pontiac Coyote, is second. The next car in line is Angelelli. He's a lap down, but he is not making way for anybody. He is surging forward. He's forgetting about Scott Pruitt behind him. He is focused on the front. He's trying to catch the green car right there, which is Nick Johnson. He is the race leader. Angelelli is trying to get a lap back.
There'll be no reasoning with Max right now. Once he gets in that mode, buddy, it's head down and I'm going to the front.
Ryan Dial starting to put the pressure on Pruitt. Ryan Dial really strutted his stuff at the Daytona 24-hour race last year for Samex, ultimately finishing second, but they were in a fascinating battle with the 01 machine throughout that race. Pruitt eventually coming on top with his teammates, taking that victory and repeating again this year, of course.
Chris, more on the 2.
Well, you think that car's fast now. Steve Dinan's been doing a lot of work with that BMW engine. He's been doing some work on airflow that they're going to be making changes to. Also, it's currently running steel valves. They're going to be switching over to titanium valves. What's that going to do, Doris?
Well, lightening up that valve train, Chris, will make it get to its RPM level much quicker. These are set by an RPM maximum, so they can't go over it, but it will get there faster with the lighter valve weight.
Pruitt has a sniff, but he wasn't close enough in that tricky section of the track. Now here comes Mark Wilkins into the mix. The gold and black exchange traded gold machine at the back of this line. He is in position. He is in 5th at the moment.
The Golden Boys, he and Brian Frizzell, what a tremendous job they're doing. And Mark and Brian seem to run very similar pace. They like the same setup. That is the perfect combination for sports car racing. Pruitt looks to the inside of Max Angelelli. Angelelli looks to the inside of Kimber Smith, who'll be last on the brakes. GT Traffic plays its part.
This will be frustrating Angelelli over time.
Max didn't have much choice. He had to go in there. Now, side by side up this left-hander, maybe. Nope.
He's on the wrong side there.
He needs to be careful that if he puts himself in a position, leaves the gap, Pruitt will stuff it in there.
And he needs to be sure that he doesn't make contact with another car and get shoved off into the grass again.
I think Pruitt's going to sit back, let Angelelli clear the 16 and then go to work on the 16 himself. He doesn't need to be part of this mess. He is leading the championship, Scott Pruitt.
By 16 points coming into this 4th round in 2008. Lots happening in DP, but let's talk GT for a moment as well. The 97 of James Gouet is leading for Stevenson Motorsports. Remember, Stevenson is the team that won a week ago in Mexico City with their new Pontiac GXPR. This is one of their older Corvettes. And I heard a whisper that this may even be for sale. So, any interested parties, this would be a good buy.
Remember, James Gouet, who's now leading, got accosted from the rears and spun out earlier in this race.
They did some testing with this car. It's got some updated rear suspension geometry and a few other tweaks, and it's been very fast, and that's why they've entered it here. Stevenson Motorsport obviously on a big high from that victory with their Pontiac machine, the 57 car down in Mexico City. James Gouet just looking to really have the continuity. I think he's a very fast young driver, but he's kind of in and out of different race cars. And I think he has a good, strong season in the same seat. He'll really gain the confidence and show the speed that he's capable of.
Stevenson bunch are doing a great thing for charity. They're working with the Wounded Warriors, veterans of our war that come back with a limb missing. And they're going to have a walk for the Warriors coming up, and all of that goes to those wounded soldiers. A great cause.
That was very beneficial there for Max Angelelli to finally get by Tom Kimber-Smith in the Chiva Coyote and get some space between he and Scott Pruitt. Let Scott worry about the position he needs to get, because Angelelli has bigger things on his list. He needs to catch Nick Johnson, get by, get back on the lead lap, and then play catch-up all over again.
Now watch Pruitt. I think he'll have a different approach now. As much as he was backing off from Max the Axe, I think he'll start to try and put the pressure on the 16 machine. And that Coyote, I've been dying to say that, is looking anything but ugly right now. It's running in second, looking quick.
This is how it happened. You ride with Angelelli a few moments ago into turn 1.
That's the classic Max the Axe we know. He set up the draft, got his intentions known, moved to the inside, just hammered the brakes in there deep.
What a day for Wayne Taylor. What a week for Wayne Taylor. The heartbreak, the frustration, the anger, the emotion of last weekend. Then the burning the midnight oil to get the car fixed with the team. His parents just arrived 2 days ago from South Africa. His son is in the race. Talk about a roller coaster of emotions. Pruitt on Kimber-Smith. I think he may have got him this time round. Yes is the answer. Executes that move beautifully. So Pruitt is now in second.
DL next up to attack the 16 machine. Clips the curb there. What a corner that is. Off camera as you come on that front straightaway. You're looking to the right and the car loads itself to the left, Dorsey. Very hard to see the edge of the racetrack. Here comes that BMW power down this front straightaway.
Well, I'm impressed with Dinan BMW power, and they're working on it and make it better. He's got position on Calvin. He'll take that.
And for Tom Kimber-Smith,
look at Wilkins. He takes advantage too.
Kimber-Smith does not know these guys as well as they know each other. He's not a regular here. And lining up is the Ruby Tuesday car. Here's the Goose. He's on the scene. Mark Goosens in the 91, last week's winner, is here again to try it again.
We love to watch the Goose. Boy, does he put on a show once he gets behind the wheel at 91.
Nick Johnson, Scott Pruitt, Ryan Dial, top 3, Mark Wilkins, then Tom Kimber-Smith. Billy Orblin is in the mix. That's the white car just up ahead, the Ruby Tuesday Porsche. And then Mark Goosens, Ian James and Matt Plum inside the top 10 as well.
Pruitt looks to have a fast race car. He's cleared the 16. It looks like he's closed back up on Max the Axe. Pruitt has just done a stunning job this year. You mentioned Dorsey. He looks feisty. He's taking more chances, but he feels this series is so competitive now, you have to force your way to the front.
I tend to agree with him. I mean, he used to be the kind of driver that would just let things happen and come to him, but you can't do that. You have to force the hand now. There's too many good guys here.
Need to update you on a GT story. What's happening with the 87 Farnbacher Lowe's Porsche, Chris?
Well, Lee, the last we saw it was in pit lane trying to repair those damaged radiators. Now it is behind the truck. It's got a water pump they're trying to replace here. Dominic, what happened on the racetrack?
Yeah, there were two issues. One issue was our water pump was leaking a little bit. We found out now because all of a sudden I got a lot of oversteer. Another thing was I had to go straight because a slower car was I think not seeing me when I was trying to overtake him, and he closed the door right in front of me and I had to go straight, otherwise would have hit him right into the back. So,
and you guys can see this team working feverishly to get the car back on the racetrack. It's not that Dirk needs to get out there and do a lap. He's got to do a half an hour in the car to get any points here. So this team really trying to get the 87 out there as soon as possible.
Thanks for the update. Don't know if you noticed, folks, but did Ian James just have a personality change? He just Mark Goosens.
That was a great pass he made. Ian James took us by the gas, I guess. This is the GT battle, a great one right now. James Gouet, the Stevenson Corvette, over the Pontiac, and right behind that is Nick Ham in the car that was so almost total last week.
Riding with Paul Edwards. This is for second. Behind him, Sylvain Tremblay, Jeff Siegel, both Speed Source Mazdas running third and fourth. We switch back to the Castrol RX-8. Let's ride. Let's have a listen with Sylvain. Watch for Edwards up ahead to make a move.
Not far enough up there to do anything.
Outside, Paul Edwards on James Gouet.
Beautiful.
What?
Can he hold it? Can he hold it?
What
is that in the marbles?
I didn't expect that to happen.
You just don't see that here at VIR. It's typically an inside move.
Neither did James Gouet believe that was going to happen. What brakes he just had there. Great job keeping it from going off the outside of the road.
That was some stylish driving, Paul Edwards.
That's confidence. When you got confidence in your race car and you're on top of your game, Paul Edwards showing all of those attributes there in that move.
That was so good. Let's see it again.
God, what a closing break.
That was. It's almost like he had to go around the outside, otherwise he's going to plow into it.
0-1's in, Brian.
Scott Pruitt, no tires over the wall, fuel only. He's in, and I'm wondering if he was balked up in traffic, are they just going to fill it with fuel now and have enough to make it to the end? Is this a strategy call? And are these Pirelli P0s going to stay underneath it to the checkered flag?
I think it's strategy, Brian. They're the first to pit and be able to get to the finish. 35 laps. No one will give us an exact number, but that seems to be in the ballpark of being able to get to the checkered flag now, not needing any more fuel. And if we see a yellow, they will then assume the lead once again when everyone else pits. Good call by the Ganassi boys.
We know that many of you will be wondering where the 99 is. It is back in 17th in class, 23rd overall. That was a costly collision. We're back. Nick Johnson in the 76 Proto Auto. Lola leads the way in the Bosch Engineering 250 here at VIR, but we're expecting him to pit very soon. Ryan Dial for Samax is second. Mark Wilkins is third. Bill Orblin is fourth, and Tom Kimber-Smith is in the top 5. This race is unfolding very nicely.
Nick Johnson trying to get past all these GT cars as quickly as possible, get whatever gap he can, knowing he's about to have to pit for fuel. He wants to get as much lead on the rest of the guys as possible. He's got quite a lead. There's first. And we'll hold and show you second. This is quite a ways back here.
There he is, Ryan Dial in the 2 machine now going through the picture. And both of these guys will need to pit for fuel before the end of this race. And we believe Nick Johnson has got to be on fumes. Been a very heavy stint here. Chris?
Well, standing by with the Samex team, Henry Zogabe really playing a great teammate this weekend. You got out of the car early, so you're not going to get points. How tough was that decision?
Well, I struggled a little bit this weekend to find my groove. To be honest, I felt good about the decision to put Ryan in early on. He seems to be really good right now. The car is very strong. We may need a splash of fuel to get to the end, but I think we're in pretty good position right now.
Seeing a lot of the front runners doing their pit stops right now. Fuel, no tires. What's your guys' plan? You just going to do fuel or tires too?
No, I think we're good with tire. We're just going to get a splash of fuel and run to the end.
Well, it looks like most of these teams looking at the tire wear and not having any issues out there with these new Pirellis.
Very unselfish of Henry Zogabe just to stand aside and let Ryan take over and score no points. And that generous gesture may just pay off, because the number 2 BMW-powered Riley is in very good shape right now as we ride with Lawson Archenbach in GT. Lawson's in contention as well. A podium they would dearly love. They've had misfortune, they've had bad luck, they've made a couple of errors. It hasn't really gone their way so far with this new Pontiac GXPR for the Auto House team, but they know good things are coming very soon for he and Tim Lewis Jr.
'61 car you saw just go by Lawson. Of course, that's the Daytona prototype passing a GT car. You can see the speed difference even on a slow corner.
And it's the young Canadian Mark Wilkins behind the wheel now, sitting 3rd overall, 3rd in Daytona prototypes. And what a faultless race so far. They've been plagued by problems, looking for that breakthrough podium or breakthrough victory. If things keep going in this same vein, it could very well happen here today.
Right behind him is Bill Oberlin. There it is, the Ruby Tuesday Crawford Porsche. It's the next car in line.
They're on the same fuel strategy. They pitted on lap 31, so they've done 15 laps as they cross the stripe this time on this fuel load. Here we see Angelelli just working the traffic. We expect Johnson to pit, and then he'll need to get around one car, Ryan DL, to get the number 10 SunTrust machine back on that lead lap and just have a chance of getting a decent run today.
Nick Johnson out of the 76. Ricardo Zonta in. He just grabbed him, pulled him out, threw him on the ground. It needs to be a very quick stop. It's going to be tires, fuel, and a driver change down here for the 76. They need to make this happen and make it happen quickly to get this car back on track. Chris?
Well, like most of the front runners were just doing fuel. The 16 car in pit lane, the Coyote doing fuel and tires and driver change. Tom Kimber-Smith getting out, Matteo Bobby getting behind the wheel. So this is going to be a little bit longer stop than we've seen from some of the other cars up front. Brian?
Routine stop down here, but Zonta's still sitting here. It took a long time to fill this car with fuel. He's on track for over an hour and a half. Johnson behind the wheel. Now, obviously, they stopped a little bit early on and topped it off, but the tank on this Lola was completely dry, guys.
Looks like the driver's tank was completely dry. The guy holding that thing, that's a drink bottle for the driver. You saw him plugging in a new one.
Now, as all this cycles through, it's playing out very nicely for Scott Pruitt. We'll update you on that in just a moment, because this is the scrap for 3rd in GT. Sylvain Tremblay in the black Mazda RX-8 for Speed Source, and this is the ill Robin Liddell, not feeling 100% health-wise after Mexico City. The victory there, though, brought a big smile on his face. I saw him at the airport in Mexico a week ago, and he was delighted. It wasn't his first Rolex Series win, but it was his teammate Andrew Davis. And this Pontiac from Stevenson just continues to get better and better. Chris?
Well, Ryan Dial brings the Dynan 2 car into pit lane. That's a very thirsty BMW. He's going to make sure they get every drop of fuel in this car. They tap the fueler on the head, and Dial is down and away.
Shouldn't have needed a full fuel load there, so it's a time stop. But what this means is with the 76 and the 2 cars pitting, Angelelli is back on the lead lap.
57 was in after we saw Liddell challenging Tremblay for a podium spot in GT. This is their final stop of the day. Brian?
Routine stop, fuel only. They'll leave the Pirellis on, and Robin Liddell will head back out. Now, it is hot and sticky down here, guys. You talk about Robin Liddell not feeling particularly well. I can tell you from experience, as can Dorsey and Calvin. You sit in one of these front-engine cars, it is very warm in the cockpit. So Liddell doing yeoman's work today.
Do a lot of sweating in these cars at about 140 degrees at cockpit temperature. Not unusual to lose about 10 pounds of weight during one of these stints.
Robin and Andrew Davis, as a short week between Mexico City and this event here at VIR. Robin typically goes back to Europe. He decided to stay over and visit the Stevenson Motor Group up in Jacksonville, North Carolina. Just really create that chemistry between the employees and the race team. That's what it's all about.
Time for a quick break. So much more to come from VIR. Stick around.
Well, Fogarty had a run on me due to traffic and the last corner before the front straight. He was able to put his nose underneath my car, and basically he just pushed me out of the white line, which was an out of boundary. I mean, it's just an example of Grand Am racing, how close it is, and how good the racing and the competition is here. John was just getting carried by the emotion of the moment, because I still got my teeth on, so I guess it's okay. So, but like I told you, we talked this morning, and it was no big deal.
I've known Memo for 10 years, and you know, we talked, and I still have a hard time understanding his English, but the words that I did hear come out of his mouth was, Chip made me do it. So I'll let it slide this time, but if and when I do decide to knock his teeth out, pretty sure one of his other teammates, Dan Weldon, can hook him up with a good tooth guy.
And that feud is no longer brewing because these two cars are well apart on the racetrack after an unfortunate incident with the 99 and 59, as we understand. And Brian can tell us more about that.
Well, obviously, John Fogarty, a very fast race car driver, and John, a very colorful personality, as we're finding out as well. One of the things, there's been action all over the racetrack today. We did not get a chance to see the incident between you and the 59 car, so we're going to rely on you because we think you might be better than Lee Diffie at giving us a play-by-play on what happened down in turn 1.
I wish the world could see it because it was, well, it was just a joke, really. It's unfortunate, you know, my emotions are at the bottom of the barrel right now. I'm literally sick to my stomach, you know. I got the greatest job in the world with the greatest team in the world and the greatest sponsor in Gainesco, and it's hard for me to be stoked right now because we had a car that we were going to win, and you know, I had a clean pass and just got nailed from behind. But we've been down before. A little bit of the 06 luck is rearing its head for the Gainesco team, but we've been down before and we've come back. So on to Laguna Seca, West Coast race for Alex and I, and got a bunch of family and friends coming. So it stinks, man, but we'll come back.
2008 may not be quite as nice as 2007 was for these guys, but you heard him say, we'll be back. There is no quit in this team.
Well, they did win on the West Coast last year at Infineon Raceway in Sonoma, so we head to the West next for Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. New race leader, it's Billy Aublin in the Ruby Tuesday Crawford Porsche.
You know, it's amazing looking at this series, the way it's shaking out, that the lead teams are all having this bad luck this year. I mean, they came off of great seasons and so forth. Now all the lead teams all of a sudden getting into the bad luck cycle, and some of these other teams coming into their own.
I agree with you, Dorsey, and I think John's spot on the mark there in terms of saying this season represents what we did in 06. Always fast, always potentially going to win, but couldn't break through, and then they just went off on a storm last year. But Billy Aublin has the Ruby Tuesday machine out front. We do know that they will need to stop for fuel. There's no way these guys can stretch it. They pitted on lap 31. That would be 46 laps, and we've been seeing about 35, 38 laps, maybe with some caution, the longest anyone can run here.
And the car immediately behind him is the 01 of Scott Pruitt, the Telmex Ganassi machine. He has stopped. He's good to go to the end. The number 2 of Ryan Dial, the BMW for Samax. He has stopped. He's good to go to the end. And so too Mark Wilkins, who's in 4th. So you take Aublin out of the equation, and you're left with this fight here for the lead of the motor race. Problems here for the 75. And we understand the 91 was involved as well with Mark Goosens.
Eric Vanderpool now behind the wheel of that, taken over from Tracy Crone.
So within the turn 4 area, exit thereof.
Major damage there that we can see from here anyway, so.
Yeah, car looks all right.
Let's go inside the cockpit with Mark Goosens. There's Vanderpool up ahead. Ian James immediately ahead of Goosens.
Just he was turned around. No, I think he was turned around by the 61 machine there, Dorsey.
Got a bump.
And Goose had to go off to avoid him.
Certainly no contact for Goose, but look at that radiator inlet. That's something here when you get off at VIR. It's a beautiful racetrack, but all that grass certainly clogs that radiator inlet real quick.
So the revised order is Aublin, Pruitt, Dial, Wilkins, James, Goosens, Bill
Oh,
Lester,
boy.
Matt Plum. Look at these guys going at it here.
This is going to be a race, Calvin.
This is going to be a race, and I think this is a race for the win right here, because we know that Auberlen has to pit, so these guys are running second and third. This could be for the victory here today. Pruitt's had his share. Dial looking for his first.
The distance between the cars, it was ebbing, it was flowing. Dial gave it a couple of little squirts there, thought about trying to come up alongside Pruitt, and then thought again.
Team owner Peter Barron would be ecstatic if this guy's could do it. And there's a crash right there while we're going by.
Problem for the 30, the Mazda, and that is Jamison Riley behind the wheel of that car. Let's hope everything's all right for him. Let's stay with this, though. It's exciting stuff. Pruitt and Dial.
Pruitt has to be thinking about the competitor. What is his position in this championship? They're really not in the thick of the points battle. Ryan Dial is only thinking about victory. Henry Zoge gave up his chance of points today. The team wants that first win.
It'd be a great win for that team. It'd be great for these drivers, for Dynan Engineering, for their engine in the car, and he's got to run.
Both cars very strong down the straightaway. Lexus have done a lot of work during the off-season, had that motor update for the last round of the 07 season, continued to work on it, worked on the drivability. It has shown great power and great straight line speed all season long.
And remember, open wheel ace engineer Steve Challis coming on board with this organization, with the Samax team, to steer them in a great direction.
Phil Lepan coming over from Forsyth Racing. When the Champ Car team folded, Steve Challis went to work, got extra good guys on board. This is a championship team of the future. The Samax boys really getting together, a great nucleus of staff.
And I'm really excited about the engine package. It's not just the Lexus anymore. The Porsche's competitive this year. Ford's back, it's competitive. This BMW engine's competitive. I mean, it's really great to see that bunch of manufacturers all have a shot.
Steve Dynan will tell you this engine is not fully developed. He said, each week I have a laundry list of things I'd like to try. It's all about getting enough customers under his wing where he has the money to spend on the dyno and develop these parts to get it even stronger.
Well, Chris was asking before, what would that mean to put titanium valves in, and I talked about getting the reciprocating mass down and so forth. It also costs a lot of money to do those things.
This is the Ruby Tuesday car. This is the race leader, Bill Auberlen. Remember what Calvin told you. He does need to stop one more time before the finish of this race. Let's go into the Ruby Tuesday camp.
Lee, remember that great second place finish at Homestead. And Joey, I know you guys working on this car week in and week out. We'll forget Mexico City. I know you would like to after the results that you guys had there, the contact. But here the car seems to be so strong. You have a shot at it. You got a big lead now, but we know you need one more stop.
Well, you know, I tell you every week, there's a couple things I do. I love the mini burgers at Ruby Tuesday with ranch on them. I love Cytomax to wash it down. And I tell you every week that Bill Auburn's probably one of the best race car drivers ever walked the earth. And that's a guy I want in at the end, and he's doing it right now. I mean, the race car isn't perfect, you know, but every week these Ruby Tuesday guys get this thing better and better and better, and they work really hard. Alex Jobe keeps pushing, and, you know, it's just exciting to lead this thing. I don't know whether we can make it all the way in, but Bill Auberlen's the guy having the car right now. And like I say all the time, we're going to be a threat every week, a little bit more here and there, but let's forget about Mexico.
Mini burgers with ranch dressing. Hey, Dorsey, Lee, if you ate those, your belly wouldn't be looking this thin, guys.
No.
What's that mean?
That's a certainty.
We have celery sticks with no dressing.
We'll be back to VIR in just a moment. We have got a full course yellow as we welcome you back to VIR. This has just happened, and that is the 76 of Ricardo Zonta for Krone Racing, idle on the side of the track. This is the car that finished third in Mexico City. Dramas here, no obvious signs. We will find out as to why, but it's just our third full yellow of the day.
That's a shame, because I still believe that they were a dark horse for this championship as they start to get to terms with that Lola chassis. They had a penalty at Homestead that cost them dearly, certainly a top 3 to top 5 finish. Yet they continue to score well, and today they were looking strong as well. So Zonta is in the pits, in the cockpit, should I say, trying to figure out what's going on, and Brian's down there in pit lane with the man who's in charge.
Well, Jeff Hazel and the rest of the crew standing here looking at the engine telemetry off the back of the pit box here. Jeff, what's up with the 76?
It's dead. The electrics are completely dead. We can talk to him on the radio, but we can't get it to fire up at all. Everything's died in the car.
You guys coming along with this car, you had a great run in Mexico City and then showed good speed here. You led this event. Each race you go to, you feel a little bit better about where you're headed?
Not at the moment.
Oh, I know what he feels like.
Tough day.
Well, you could see as he was pulling off the track that he was flipping all the switches, trying to go to the B ignition, trying to go to different fuel pumps, whatever, to get that car to fire. And when it's dead, it's dead. And it's not going to be, you know, it's going to be something like a main cable breaker, one of the 36-pin connectors disconnected or something.
Have to assume that when the pit lane opens, they close the pits and we see a caution, then the next lap the DPs can pit. And Oberlin definitely needs fuel. It's been 25 laps since he last pitted.
I made that 36-pin thing up, you know. He didn't call me on that.
See the rest of the field cruising by. One thing that you got to be careful of is when you're on warm rubber and everyone's staying out, you don't get any pickup on the tires. When we go back to green, you really need to start scrubbing those tires and getting that loose rubber scrubbed off the tires.
Just to finish a point with Jeff Hazel there, he was one of the guys in the paddock today that applauded Grandam and Dave Spitzer, Mark Raffoff, just setting the standard. And you know, there were a lot of people a little bit unhappy about these the tech regs happening like that, but he said it's good, it gives us a platform. I'll finish that in just a moment.
There are lots of new and exciting names in the Daytona prototype ranks this year, and they don't come any bigger or with a better racing heritage in the world of sports cars than that of Lola. They've been building sports cars for 50 years now. Now, Proto Auto, which is a partnership between Lola Cars and the Krone Racing Group, have purchased the licensing rights to the Multimatic chassis, and this is their new design for 2008. As you can see, a lot of attention has been paid to the aerodynamic design. The front suspension remains Multimatic with the Riley rear suspension grafted onto the car. But there's also some pretty cool features inside the cockpit. We're here this morning with Nick Yonton, one of the drivers of the 76 machine. And Nick, talk us through the cockpit layout a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, this car have been really well thought through as far as ergonomically. You know, it's very, very easy to find all the different switches and stuff in here in the cockpit for the driver. If you have some issue, it's very easy to get to, like, you know, to all the switches to change that over. We also have a heated windscreen in the car. That's, you know, a new feature for this car. As far as driver changes, which is a very, you know, important part of this type of racing, it's a much bigger door opening. We have a sliding seat that can slide back and forth, which also a new feature in this type of racing. So it's overall it's a very well, you know, thought out car from a driver aspect, and it's very nice to, you know, to be able to see everything and be able to reach everything, you know, in the way we do.
Well, the talk in the paddock area is the appearance of some very strange looking noses up and down pit road this year. But Lola feels with the design of this nose, they can sniff out a victory here pretty quickly.
A lot of work gone into that car over the off-season. It looks good, and we know that it's performing well, and better days ahead. Feel sorry for Jonsson and Zonta and the Proto Auto gang, Krone Racing, but they will be back next time out at Laguna Seca. Time to squeeze in a quick break while we're under yellow, but lots more to come from VIR. For those of you just joining us, let's bring you up to date with what has happened here at VIR, round 4 of the Grand-Am Rolex Series. Great start for pole sitter Michael Valiente, who got the early advantage. Good clean start for the Daytona prototypes and the GT cars as well. Dominic Farnbacher gets the early edge over Andrew Davis. Big collision here early on in the race. Local driver Steve Johnson, former NFL player, hits hard into the back of Ted Ballou from the 66 TRG team. Then this is the contact everybody's talking about between Momo Rojas and Michael Valiente. Momo had his side of the story, Valiente had his side of the story. Good scrap in GT as well. Move of the race, DP or GT, it doesn't matter. How do you like this one? Paul Edwards around the outside in turn 1 on James Guay. Super performance. There were some good individual battles as well for position. Tom Kimber-Smith was running as high as second and then just drifted off the outside at turn 1. That's a common spot. And then most recently, dramas here. Electrical failure for the Proto Auto Lola of former F1 driver Ricardo Zonta. Day is done. Podium in Mexico, not as lucky here. We bring you back. And the 07 of Paul Edwards has pitted just recently. That puts Robin Liddell, last week's winner, into the lead position in GT.
Just a great call by the Stevenson group, led by Mike Johnson, who caused the strategy there. They pitted early, counting on a yellow, then they leapfrog this group because everyone has to wait to pit. The pits are closed, remember, so if you can pit and get within that window to get to the checkered flag, they basically jumped about 6 or 7 spots there. Some of these guys may have fresher tires, but Rob Liddell will hold point when we go back to green.
So he works his way back into the order, does Paul Edwards, and we get ready to go green shortly. But we will squeeze in another quick break while we are under yellow. We mentioned earlier in this broadcast that it is the 1-year anniversary of Bob Snodgrass's passing. It is just this week that we are sad to say a motor racing and sports car racing legend, Cameron Argetsinger, passed away, leaving us with the legacy of the wonderful racetrack he created, Watkins Glen in upstate New York. He made it the home of the US Grand Prix from 1961 through 1980. Mr. Argetsinger, thank you for everything you did for motorsport. Working our way towards a start here at VIR, round 4 of the Grand-Am Rolex Series. Lights are out on the Pontiac G8, and we get set to go. Scott Pruitt in a very familiar position. Clear track ahead. He is in the lead, but boy, does he have a hungry pack chasing. Most notably, car 2 for Samax, the BMW-powered Riley of Ryan Dial. Ian James is in the mix in car 6. Mark Goosens is there, and so too Matt Plum in 7. A little bit of smoke on the restart. Let's get to it.
Someone locked him up there back in the pack, tried to get on the jump early, but Ryan Dial, Pruitt showing his experience there. Classic restart. That's Ian James. Goosens right behind Ian James. This is a battle for third.
This is good stuff from the Mike Shank Racing team. Looking at that blue and black Ford-powered Riley of Ian James, his teammate John Pugh has really stepped it up another level here this weekend. He has tested on this circuit but never raced here in a DP. So credit to John Pugh and Ian James. We know the caliber of the Englishman. He is an awesome driver. We ride with Angelelli. Car 10 is in position 11. Chasing hard.
But he's got a lot of traffic between him and where he needs to go. The 59 just got off the racetrack. Brimo's Porsche back on, no big damage. A little damage right rear. I think that was from before, though.
Joao Barbosa is now driving the 59. And as he works back up to speed, we go back up front. Pruitt, Dial, Ian James, Mark Goosens, Matt Plum. That's the top 5. Then it should be Mark Wilkins in 6th. Bert Frizzell in the 47, another Dallara out there doing well for Doran Racing. Then Bill Lester for Southern Motorsports. Bill Aublin is 9, and I think Angelelli may have got past Negri for that top 10 position.
He did. When we went away from that shot, he had Aublin in front of him, who currently holds down the 9th position. So certainly Angelelli looking for big points here and trying to recover. Here we're on board with him again down that long back stretch up towards the roller coaster ride. Hard on the brakes, transitioning over to the left, then back to the right.
Has he already got by Aublin, or is that Aublin scooting down the hill there?
That could be Aublin up ahead.
A little bit far away to tell.
I think that may be Bill Lester, possibly. We'll have to take a look. Meanwhile, up front again, Pruitt looking good. Got that front bodywork damage. He had a similar problem in Mexico City.
Lexus leading a BMW over a Ford with a Pontiac chasing from behind.
Look at Goosens starting to put the pressure on James. James made a brilliant out. And here comes Goosens down the inside. That's not a normal spot to overtake. Does James give him room?
Not easily. He didn't give him room, but boy, he slammed it into Goosens with a great move.
Total surprise move. Ian James would not have been expecting that, and you're transitioning one way and back to the other. Very hard to see the guy in the mirrors.
I think he wanted to give him a little hip check, looked over, saw it was Goosens, said, okay, you got me this time.
Well, that's 2 in 2 race meetings, isn't it? Outside Pruitt in turn 1 at Mexico City, and inside Ian James there. Mark Goosens entertaining us once again. He's into 3rd now, and again in the mix.
I think you'll see him move forward now, too. I think Goosens, once he gets his head side like that, he'll run the front guys down here.
Chris, what did Mike Shank make of that move?
Well, Mike's standing by. He's not having a chance to see any video because we don't have video down here in pit lane this weekend. But all season long, the spotlight's been on the 60. Now it's on the 6 car. Right now, Ian James taking a lot of heat from Mark Goosens out there. What is Ian having to work with?
I think he has a good chance of keeping him behind. The car's pretty good. Ian's doing a great job. I asked him to step up, and he really has all weekend. Been fast all weekend. Guys have done a good job in the pits. We'll just see what happens there. Hopefully on the podium.
You guys came out of Mexico City completely clean. How important was that with only a week between races?
It was everything. We could rest the crew all the way up till Thursday morning, come here fresh, do a day and a half, and be on the track.
Well, a couple years ago, Mike Shank was the little team that could. Now they're a pretty big operation, guys.
Did you interrupt him eating ice cream there? Looked like he had ice cream.
Days of Thunder.
Behind these two, we go to the 5th place car, and it is car number 7, the Rum Bum Seagull Sport BMW. Matt Plum behind the wheel as we wait. It's a healthy gap. There he is right there. And Matt is performing nicely.
Tight there. Eric Vanderpool, a lap down. Matt Plum trying to be careful. Remember the damage they had to recover from in Mexico City. What a performance. This is not a big team. They don't have the resources of the big boys. They had to rebuild this car also. And Matt Plum once again strutting his stuff up in the top 5. That is tremendous performance by this whole team from Seagull Sport.
Okay, Matt Plum really likes these cars, and I'm very impressed with his driving in so far.
I think he's making a point as well. When they had that confrontation down in Mexico City, Max Angelelli essentially said, "You're not quick enough to be up front. You should get out of our way." He said, "I'm not having none of that. I'm here to make my mark." Very loose there through the S's. You see the tail wagging on that Rum Bum car.
Guys just checked in with the Rum Bum team, and what I know is that the 7 car on the last stop took fuel and tires. So right now, the 91 of Goosens and the 01 of Scott Pruitt for sure on old rubber. It was fuel only on their stop, so those Pirellis are going to be tired by the end of this race. And the question is, will Matt Plum have enough fresh rubber on that car to take it further forward?
See Sylvain Tremblay as we ride on board with him in the 70s. Mazda is off song. He's not driving up to caliber speed-wise. He gets out of everyone's way and lets the prototypes go.
Sylvain is back in. He's lucky to be in the top 10 in class at the moment. That will be a source of frustration. Look at this. Mark Wilkins is applying the pressure to Matt Plum. Car 7, car 61. The 75 machine of Eric Vanderpool, he is not in this mix. This is not for position. This is Plum here in 7. He is in the 5th position. Then it's Wilkins in 6th. The 99 that we regularly see up front, Alex Gurney, is not on the lead lap. He's a little further down in the order. He's in 14th position.
Well, just because these other drivers don't know Matt Plum yet, they're about to meet him. We know him from sedan racing sometimes, and a really good driver, and he loves these cars, so I think he's going to make his mark just like he said he was going to.
The reason the 61 car has got that track position it does because Mark Wilkins had a drive-through penalty for actually getting into the 75 machine. We saw the action, and meanwhile up front again, Dial starting to put the Pruitt under pressure.
It's the first penalty we've seen for rough driving this year so far, Cal.
It is. They've really let the... Whoa, you see the
wiggle.
back end of Dial there, really hanging on to it, giving it 1,000,000%.
Running out of laps. We're on lap 61 of 77 in the latter stages of this one. Pruitt is determined to win another Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Championship. And if he can stay here, this will make 3 wins from 4 starts in 2008.
Starting to look like old Trans Am days with the fenders missing a lot. Front ends of the cars all missing.
Look at the gap back from Dial to Goosens. Goosens has been able to shake off Ian James for that 3rd spot. James is safely in 4th. Then Matt Plum. Then Mark Wilkins, then Bert Frizzell in the 47.
Dial was hurt bad there in traffic, but the Samex team have to be happy, Chris.
Well, it's all smiles down here in the Samex group. Peter Barron watching his driver go by right now. Peter, we talked earlier and you said Ryan was just taking it easy on the racetrack. Have you told him to pull the trigger yet?
Nah, still a long way to go, a lot of traffic, and you know, I think our car is doing pretty good. It's really, really good on old tires. I think we saw at the end of the last run, our speeds were pretty much right on the top at the end of a tire run. So we're just, telling Ryan to keep up there, push on him. If there's an opportunity, take him, but get him to use up his tires. Standard stuff.
Well, it's all about opportunity this weekend. This team has been fast all year long, but now looks like the chips are falling their way.
Dial likes VIR. I mentioned it earlier in the show. He finished 4th here last year with French-Canadian driver Jean-Francois Dumoulin. So he likes the fast-flowing nature of VIR. If you've joined us late, his regular co-driver Henry Zogabe got out prior to the 30-minute mark, which meant he did not score any championship points, but it certainly means Dial can, and Dial took the BMW-powered Sam Max Riley and has taken it right to the front. Here's the 47 of Bert Frizzell, brother of Brian, who had such a strong run earlier in the race in the 61. This is one of 2 cars under Kevin Doran's banner, and this is one of the new Dalaras.
Good to see the Frizzell brothers, both of them, in competitive rides this year.
They are very quick. Very quiet day for this team, but they're gradually sneaking their way strongly through the top 10 up to 7th. And the 61 machine that is shared by his brother, currently driven by Mark Wilkins, is next on his target zone. There it is, right in front of him, the gold and black machine. Mark Wilkins behind the wheel, doing a great job in recovery mode from that penalty, as we mentioned.
You think he'd want to go buy his brother's car?
You betcha. Probably sharing a rental car tonight.
Well, Bert said this 47 Dallara just didn't roll off the truck as effectively as it did in Mexico City a week ago. So they were scratching their heads, trying to work it out. They're still learning the car. Remember that Thursday at Mexico City was the very first time the car ran. They had no test days. They hadn't had any track running. So it's very early days in the whole program for the 47.
But Calvin, that Dallara, I mean, it's a brand new chassis, brand new car that comes in this year. And of course, these Rileys have been around, tried and true for quite a while, the Crawfords as well. And they're right there already. They're ready to win already.
They really are. Tremendous potential. They do not have a lot of test time on any of the Dalaras in the field, and certainly showing tremendous speed sitting on the pole here. It's only a matter of time before they get that first victory.
Brian?
Just checked in with the Stevenson Autosport group on the 5-7 car. Robin Liddell behind the wheel right now. Tires. They did the perfect pit strategy, Calvin. It's kind of similar to what the 01 and stuff did. They leapfrogged the field when they stopped, as soon as they got inside their fuel window. The problem is they too are on old tires, so right now some of those other GT cars behind them a bit stronger perhaps with the tires that they have. But right now the 57 out front. The question is, can Robin Liddell, feeling still the ill effects from Mexico, hang on with those older Pirellis?
Well, adrenaline works wonders when you're leading a motor race. It's amazing how deep you can dig, but certainly for this team, they don't tend to run new tires a lot, so that should really help them out with the longer runs here and maintaining the balance on this race car.
Well, I knew Robin Liddell was feeling racy the other day. I was driving along on my golf cart, you know, just touring around the place, and all of a sudden I accelerated about 60 miles per hour, and it was Robin saying, "Get out of the road," which gave me a bump draft in the old rental car he did.
Work our way back to the 86 of Lee Keane. The All-American lineup for Farnbacher Lowes, Eric Lux and Lee Keane doing a nice job, and they're ahead of the TRG machine, the 67 of Spencer Pumpelly and Tim George Jr. Spencer was the championship leader going into Mexico City, had a lot of problem with those the wheel studs, etc. down there. He said, I think we're still scratching our head as to what happened to us down there, but we're on our way back. So Spencer Pumpelly heading in the right direction. So too the 86 of Lee Keane.
That's just a great shot, isn't it? That whole series of S's with these Porsches just jumping the curves and up in the air, lifting wheels, carrying on.
Well, the great news for Lee Keane is that they would fail to shave their beards for several races until they got on the podium. They shaved them this morning. Now they're looking for one.
It's a good battle for fourth in GT. This is Charles Eschenlaub in the Hypersport Mazda ahead of the 07 of Paul Edwards. Now the 40 Mazda is the one regularly driven by Joe Foster and Patrick Dempsey. Patrick has some PR requirements at the moment, so he is not racing here at VIR. Eschenlaub gets it sideways, four-wheel drift. He's feeling the pressure from Paul Edwards big time.
And look at the 07. The front of the 07 is missing the left headlight. Damage to the left front of the 07. I think he's already felt some pressure.
Well, Dorsey, lots of pressure out there, but lots of smiles within this Hypersport crew. The day did not start that well. In the morning practice, they had a heat shield on the car that caught fire, so they had to do some work between practice and the race. And then when Joe Foster took the car out for the recon laps, he picked up a little bit of a smell that he didn't like with the car, brought it back to pit lane. Everything checked out just fine, but since he did bring the car back to pit lane, he had to start from pit lane. So this team has been working real hard to get up into that top 5 spot.
Good look there. The left front of the 07 has got the big hole punched in where the headlight is.
Checked in with the Banner Racing crew. You just saw the 07 of Paul Edwards get that position, and one of the reasons for new tires. Once again, that battle in GT, just like in Daytona prototypes, may come down to that last stop and the decisions that the crews made. I can get my car on track faster by putting fuel only in it, or I can give them a better car at the end by putting fuel and tires. How do you roll the dice? Right now, we see it playing out for the 07.
Edwards is flying right now, and let's take a look at how easily he made that pass down into turn 1. And new rubber will make a big difference, Dorsey, under braking.
And you see right now he's backed away a little bit. He's going to get a good run. We saw that fantastic pass under braking before. Well, guess what? Same place, this time to the inside. This car's got awesome brakes.
He has the fastest lap in the GT field with a 1:53.9. Last time round he was in the 57s because he was dueling with Eschbenlaub. Let's see what he can do with some clear track ahead. We'll be back. Scott Pruitt is trying to repeat history today. He would dearly love to wind the clock back just like 2005 when he and Luis Diaz were successful here at Virginia International Raceway. He is certainly in the box seat right now. He has just under a 2-second gap over Ryan Dial in the number 2 Samax BMW. Incidentally, Dial owns the fastest lap of the race in the Daytona prototype category, a 1:44.65. But he's lost a little ground to Pruitt while we're away.
Well, Ryan Dial running the faster laps, but Pruitt working the traffic better, or maybe getting the traffic served up better. Either way, he's making his gain every time he gets into the traffic. Here's the 2 car, definitely quicker, Calvin.
Yeah, I mean, 7/10 is a significant advantage to have on your fastest lap of the race, but Pruitt is the master. So much experience, 16 Daytona prototype wins behind him, looking to add to that total today. Sometimes it's easy to be behind. You get booked in traffic, the other guy has the momentum, but right now, Pruitt is catching the better brakes and doing the better job.
Working our way back to the battle for 6th. This is Mark Wilkins in the gold and black Riley fending off the orange and black Dallara of Bert Frizzell. Now remember, Bert shared the 61 last year with Mark Wilkins, alternating rides with his brother Brian. So these young fellows are not only good friends, but they're very skillful young drivers as well. Want that 6th place.
Oh, late on the brakes, locks up the rears there.
Good recovery, though, Calvin. I don't think it really cost him anything.
No, released him nicely. Got to the apex, no problem. That's just right on the limit, of course. Nothing left from Bert Frizzell in the 47 Dallara.
Frizzell brothers having a really good year to start to this year anyway. Both in competitive rides, both running toward the front every race so far.
They're really focused now. They looked at stock car racing, had a dabble over there, didn't really get the results or gain the momentum they were looking for, and said, you know what, let's go back to what we love best, and that's road racing.
Of course, their father, that gets it from them. He's a long-time IMSA road racer, successful racer, and in Can-Am.
Sebring winner Brad Frizzell as we go back to the 23 to Bill Aublin, who holds down the 8th place. Let's give you a rundown at the moment. It's Pruitt, Dial, Goosens, the top 3. Then Ian James, Matt Plum in 5th, Mark Wilkins, Bert Frizzell. This man here, Billy Aublin, multiple-time Grand Am Rolex Series GT champion.
Gurney showing some speed here. He's a lap down on this pack, but he has split Angelelli and Aublin, so he is faster.
Behind Aublin is Angelelli for 9th, and then Bill Lester for Southern Motorsports is in the top 10.
Calvin, I'm not sure for Gurney if it was smart to get in front of Angelelli or not this particular time.
That's right, but he's going to be fired up too, just as John Fogarty said. They are gutted. They realize they've had a fast race car a couple of weeks in a row, and they are not getting the results they're looking for. Here comes Bill Lester doing a tremendous job for Southern Motorsports. Up in the top 10, Shane Lewis, as usual, did stellar work in the early going, and Bill holding his own right here.
Yeah, credit to Bill. He's really adapting to road racing very, very well. He has it in his career resume, but it was many years ago, Chris.
Lee, and these guys having a strong result here today. If they can finish out in the top 10, they were didn't feeling like they had that strong of a car going into the race. They just couldn't get a handle on it mechanically, so they tried to band-aid it, throwing a bunch of aero on the car and get it under control. But both drivers still fighting a very loose car all day throughout this race. And also a big weekend for Southern Motorsport. They've got a sponsor here they're entertaining, so they're hoping for a good result, and hopefully that sponsor will jump on later in the season.
Now, talk to those guys, and they struggled with rear grip. They just could not get the rear tires to get any bite off this racetrack. No matter what they did, they tried springs, they tried aero, no grip at the back.
As we climb on board the 60, Mike Shank racing forward with Oswaldo Negri. Speaking of onboard cameras, Bill Lester locks it up. It's exactly what he did to learn this racetrack. He grabbed the tape of the onboard camera of Max Angelelli from last year and just studied the 3 1/4 miles of VIR. That was some heads-up work from Bill Lester.
I think he was trying to break where Max Angelelli does.
That's a great way to learn, though. I mean, I tell you that you see these kids nowadays get on the video games of these racetracks. It's so realistic, you really can't get a feel for what it's going to be like before you get there.
Inside the final 10 laps, we need to squeeze in one more break. That man there will be very happy if Scott Pruitt can bring it home. We look forward to the next round of the Formula One World Championship. That is on May 11 from 7:30 Eastern right here on Speed, and that is live. It is the Turkish Grand Prix. Kimi is in control at the moment. Can anybody catch the Finn? You can see it live right here on Speed, the Turkish Formula One Grand Prix. This is Sports Cars on Speed, though, the Grand Am Rolex Series. And you ride for a moment with Lawson Archenbach. There's great battles going on in our two respective classes, Daytona Prototype and GT. This is for the overall win. The black and white BMW-powered Riley is Ryan Dial chasing the blue and white Lexus-powered Riley of Scott Pruitt.
When you're Scott Pruitt, you're looking back there thinking, what is this guy going to do? He's not really in the overall points thing. I am. Should I just let him go, or should I race him to the end?
The length of this straightaway, Dorsey, you're going to pick up a little bit of a draft and close that gap.
Boy, it'd be great for Ryan, be great for the Samax guys, Peter Barron, to get a win, get their first win.
Let's go back to GT, and the pressure is mounting on this man here, Robin Liddell. You just saw a flash of Spencer Pumpelly from TRG in the background. He took 1.2 seconds out of him last time around, Chris.
Well, Lee, I saw that, and I was concerned that maybe Robin got caught up in some traffic there that slowed him down. But checking in with Mike Johnson, he said, you know what, we are on some really old rubber right now. So Robin doing everything he can to try and keep that Pontiac out front. But he's just got some very tired tires.
That's not a good thing when you got a guy running you down, Chris, as you know. 4 laps to go, and he's losing about a second a lap to Spencer Pumpelly.
Another 1.1 seconds that lap. The gap's down to 3.4 with 4 to go. If Pumpelly keeps this going, mind you, this is Spencer's track. He has raced here for many years. He knows the secrets, the keys to VIR, and he told me this morning, just watch, don't count us out of this one.
It looks like his tires.
Oh, and that car around.
Yeah, it looks like he's got plenty of tire on that car. He's bouncing it off the curbs and going all over the place.
Kevin Buckler standing here watching Spencer Pumpelly. I know you guys took tires on your last stop. Car much faster right now. Little hiccup in Mexico for this team, it seems like, but you rebounded here. The cars are handling well. The strategy's back.
Yeah, it's exciting to see the performance. You know, we were real dominant the first 2 races. We've been really trying to come to grips with the Pirellis. You know, the tires, we love the tires, but they weren't particularly built for our car. I think they were built for the Pontiacs or something. So we've got a lot of stuff to figure out. We haven't quite got it yet, but we're getting a lot closer. Spencer's doing a great job. This is great racing. You know, Pontiac versus Porsche here at the front. We're gaining about half a second a lap. I think we're 3.5 seconds back, and we got 4 laps left. So it's going to be exciting here right to the finish.
Well, they brought out all the stops today. Kevin Buckler, the whole team here, and Andy Lally also sitting up there on the pit box, spotting for his best friend Spencer Pumpelly, also calling a little strategy as well.
And the reason why it's so exciting in GT, because Porsche and Pontiac are tied for the Manufacturers' Championship on 94 points each after the first 3 rounds of the year. Who's going to get it? 3 to go. Can Ganassi become 2-time winners here at VIR? If Scott can get home, he and Rojas will be the first combination, the first team to win 3 of the first 4 in the Daytona Prototype era. But Dial is not making it easy for him.
Wow, he's driving at 10/10, Dorsey. Really sliding that car through the S's. Exhilarating piece of the racetrack for these drivers. They love this place. Pruitt is not giving up anything. Forget the big picture of the championship. He wants to win another one.
Right, Dial, though. I mean, he is bouncing this car. It's got every bit of it, using every bit of the racetrack there is. It's exciting to see him. I love to watch this guy go.
We said at the top, this track is for real racers. It really showcases their skill set. Drivers like Pruitt, like Dial, like Mark Goossens. This is an old world track. This is old style. And it brings out the best in the top boys.
Look at the traffic up ahead. Will this play a part? Will they get a clean shot onto this front straightaway? Will Pruitt get balked? No, he doesn't. He accelerates hard. Car off on the outside. One of the Corvettes.
Ryan reading everything from behind perfectly.
Tim Keane on the radio to his man Scott Pruitt, updating him exactly what the situation is. I'm sure Scott knows exactly what the situation is. 2 to go, and he is being hounded by car 2.
Oh, he almost got it in there.
And he just positioned that car perfectly. Didn't outbrake himself, just got it down on the inside, slowed it way down, realized that Ryan had nowhere to go. Just smart driving by Pruitt.
This is where Scott Pruitt's so good. He could have made that pass and left a hole open, in which case Ryan would have had an opportunity. Instead, he backed off. He made it not happen.
He thoroughly enjoyed the nose-to-tail racing in Mexico City with Mark Goossens. Really respected the job that Goossens did. And now for the second meeting in a row, he is involved in a high-level battle.
You have to wonder that comment by Chip Ganassi last weekend about the damage costing them the race. Did that bar Pruitt? Does he have a point to prove to his team boss here today?
Guys, Timmy Keene talking to Scott Pruitt on the radio right now. He's looking at the telemetry from the engine in front of him, but more importantly than that, our speed coverage is down in the lower right-hand portion of this screen, so he's looking at that. What he was telling Scott Pruitt a minute ago was stay left, stay left, stay left. There's debris on the front straightaway, so using all the tools that they have at their availability down here at Chip Ganassi Racing. Timmy Keene right now trying to will his driver around to the checkered flag.
And while Tim Keene's doing that for Pruitt, Mike Johnson is doing it for Robin Liddell at the lead of the GT field as well. Spencer Pumpelly got caught in a little bit of traffic and didn't make any ground that last lap on Robin Liddell. The difference last time around was still 3.3 seconds. So Liddell, if he can hang in there, is looking good. It'll have to be a very dynamic lap from Spencer Pumpelly to get that GT win. 1 to go here at VIR. Can Pruitt do it?
Well, Ryan Dalziel will throw caution to the wind here. He's not thinking about a championship. He's thinking about that first victory. Dives late on the brakes. Pruitt hugs to the inside. Dalziel cuts back across. He accelerates a little bit quicker than Pruitt. There's nowhere to go here, or is there? Remember Goossens' move on Ian James. I don't think Dalziel is close enough.
That's what makes it tough. He had a better run, you're right, Calvin, but there's nowhere to go with that speed. He'll be smart to back off and time it. Try to get a run up there toward the big tree corner.
Traffic is the key coming up to the S's. If this GT car in front of him balks him slightly, will Dalziel pounce?
I can see him splitting this Mazda. I can really see him going both ways.
This is perfect for Ganassi, being in the lead position, and Bob Stallings Gainsco crew suffering some adversity here at VIR. That points gap will grow first to second in the championship. Traffic comes into play for Dalziel. That gives enough of a gap to make it comfortable for Pruitt.
Pruitt had to get by that Porsche. He knew it. He did it. He opens up 3 car lengths.
Now he can just focus on the exit off Oak Tree down this long back straightaway. Dalziel is not close enough, and notice that traffic really comes into play through the roller coaster ride to finish off this lap.
Boy, in those last 4 corners, if there's traffic up there, anybody could win.
That's a shame. That GT car really spoiled Ryan Dalziel's chances of this race.
The year did not start well for Samax. Both cars went out early at the 24, and the 2 machine finished 20th. Dalziel's not done with. He's trying to do a Mike Rockenfeller. The closing corner. They come through Hogpen. The checkered flag is now in sight. First team in the Daytona prototype era to win 3 from 4 at the beginning of a season. Ganassi do it again. Pruitt and Rojas victorious in Virginia.
Unbelievable job by Scott Pruitt. Kudos to Ryan Dalziel and the whole Samax team. Excellent result, and here he comes up. There'll be a big thumbs up there, Dorsey.
Yeah, there's a mutual respect between those two. They didn't shove each other off and bang around. They gave it their all.
And remember, the 0-1 came from the back of the Daytona prototype field after being relegated after a post-qualifying technical infraction. We talk GT now. The pressure is on. Is Spencer Pumpelly close enough? I don't think he is. It's looking good for back-to-back wins for Stevenson, for Robin Liddell and Andrew Davis. This is the fight for third, though. Lee Keene in the 86 Farnbacher Lowe's Porsche. Can he hold off a wounded Pontiac GXPR from Paul Edwards?
He's wounded, but he's got fresher tyres, but he's not really close enough. Look at that Porsche stretch out on the Pontiac down the back stretch, back to the brakes.
And a lot of that because of that big hole in the nose. It's not helping top speed on that car. A lot of aero drag right there.
They've done it again. The Pontiac boys, the Stevenson Motorsports Group, they have done it again. Back-to-back victories for Robin Liddell and Andrew Davis. Awesome performance. And the scrap for third, well, Paul Edwards gave it his all, but he is not close enough. The Farnbacher Lowe's Porsche will get there behind the TRG Porsche of Spencer Pumpelly and Tim George Jr. How about that? Underdogs no more. Stevenson are the GT boys to beat, and Ganassi 3 from 4. Back at VIR and back to hear what it was like inside the winning cockpit.
Memo Rojas, Scott Pruitt, you might have seen him biting their nails there. I think it was a bit nervous. It was a 3rd victory of the season for you guys. Scott, we talked earlier, points. You said, I just need points. At some point in time in the race early on when you guys had the problems, did you think, well, I'll just collect what I can and maybe the win's not going to happen today?
Well, you never know. I mean, the Telmex guys, again, did a great job. Everybody. Hi to my family at home. It was just one of those deals where we just kept making the right calls and doing the right things, and pretty soon we had a fast car. We had the lead. Ryan did a terrific job. Their car was quick. He had me on my toes the last 20 laps pretty hard, but happy for the team, happy for points. Exciting to be back here in victory lane, and Memo did a great job as always.
3 victories in 4 races and a solid control in the points, Chris.
Well, Ryan Dial leaning against his car down here after doing a huge job out there. You got behind the wheel only 20 minutes into this race, ran the rest of the deal. Now, you had problems with traffic out there. If you didn't have to deal with the traffic, did you have anything for Pruitt?
I think if we're in front of him, we maybe had something to pull away, but I mean, seconds is a massive victory for us today. We've had a bad start to the season, and the car was unbelievable. Dynan Power, Riley Chassis, Samex, great job. Super happy. Great race.
Well, another one of these small teams taking it to the big boys. Lee.
Yeah, what a performance. And again, we give Henry Zogabe a pat on the back for standing aside and farewelling those championship points. Let's take a look at the overall results in the Daytona Prototype class. Gives you a good overview, doesn't it? Great result there from John Pewey and James. And the Rum Bum Seagull Sport car in the top 5 as well. And some motivating circumstances there for the Ruby Tuesday team. Another top 10 performance in the 7 more valuable points, and that will really shake up the Daytona Prototype points situation, and another very frustrating day for the 58 Brumos Porsche team. A 16-point advantage turns into 21 for the Ganassi duo, and Jim Matthews, Mark Goosens move a position ahead into 2nd, and look how costly it was for the 99 Gainsco boys. They dropped to 4th place in the DP standings. Brian?
Big celebrations in the GT field. Susan and Johnny Stevenson down here with Andrew Davis and Robin Liddell, and another victory, 2 in a row for you guys. And Robin, I know you left Mexico City not feeling particularly well. Something tells me you feel pretty good right now.
Actually, I felt okay when I left Mexico, and I felt pretty bad in the meantime, but now I feel great, on top of the world again. And once again, I'd like to thank all the guys at Stevenson Motorsports, Brian Mark, our engineer Kyle Millet, and Pirelli Tires. Fantastic job all around today again, and it's proved we're not fluke. We're definitely here as a team to be reckoned with for the future.
And great strategy by Mike Johnson as well. 2 in a row for Stevenson. Chris?
Well, great finish for Tim George Jr. and Spencer Pompelli. Spencer, you were charging hard on the 57. Didn't quite get him, but this is a good bounce back from Mexico City.
It's a great bounce back. I got to thank everyone at TRG. The car had a bad brake caliper. The guys fixed it during a pit stop. I thought this day was done, and the TRG guys are just fantastic. Tim did an awesome job nursing a sick car home and gave it to me. You guys are great. What can I say? Thanks to TRG.
Well, Porsche came close today. When are they going to get their breakthrough win?
And that battle continues between Porsche and Pontiac for the Manufacturers' Championship. We talk results right now, and you can't help but think about the Stevenson Group. Back-to-back wins, first multiple winner in 2008 in GT. Nice effort there. And also for Joe Foster and Charles Espenlaub to top 5 in the Hypersport Mazda. Terrific performance there. What happened to the 70 Speed Source Mazda? We'll find out and tell you all about it at the next round of the Grand Am Rolex Series. Here's the points overview heading into the next round. And Kelly Collins, Paul Edwards lead by 6 over Spencer Pompelli and Tim George. That was a little bit better. They're getting back to where they belong. That was their 3rd second place of the year for Pompelli and George Jr. And after those 2 wins, Andrew Davis and Robin Liddell find themselves in a tie for 3rd with the Speed Source duo of Nick Ham and Sylvain Tremblay. Let's talk SunTrust Improve Your Position Award. We congratulate Henry Zogabe and Ryan Dial from 17th to 2nd. And then, of course, in GT, well done to Joe Salin and Will Nonamaker, who finished in 7th position after starting 20th. Very quickly, final thoughts, Dorse?
Well, I'll tell you, there's some bad blood brewing around here in Grand Am, and we're going over to California, and that's going to spill over to a very exciting weekend.
Well, I think Pruitt and the Ganassi boys, I mean, they've really got a big points lead now. I don't think the rest of the field can spot these guys, those sort of points, and get back in this championship. They're going to be tough to beat the rest of the way in.
Can the SunTrust boys come back from this kind of adversity 3 in a row? Hopefully that's their bad luck out of the way. And we hope you can join us in 2 weeks' time at Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca. We'll see you then.